as far as the PR goes,
Yeah.
that would be the goal, because hitting these PRs is a different type of success when it comes to business. I got criticized. I got wrote off in regards to my physique, bodybuilding. Like, hey, he's never going to go pro now. Hearing these things, reading these things, and just thinking like, I'll show you guys. Cardio, hated it. Back then it was like an old school method of nutrition. Don't use seasoning, eat bland food. And that's the way I was taught back then, to where it's like, you don't eat for flavor, you eat just for nutrients to get in your body and train and work out, and that's it.
All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. Today, my guest is Joe Mackey, IFBB Pro, one of the strongest bodybuilders now, unofficially, 900-pound deadlift. Turned pro in 2017, the CEO of Mackey Innovations, and an online, what is the online coaching company called? I know the URL is it's No Average.
Yeah, it's No Average Joe Training, and I'm actually about to shut that one down. In a couple, probably actually end of this month, actually. And the Mackey Innovations is keeping us quite busy. Then the chief director of our USA manufacturing company, Tech, which is in the City of Industry in California. So these things are keeping me quite busy now. So
so you're balancing the training and professional life, work life. And
like training, and it's my coach, obviously Jailhouse Strong. He's been with me now for, I want to say, I guess probably about 2 years now. And he really, I'm not going to say stays on my ass, because it's like I'm obviously pretty determined and motivated and stuff like that. But hopefully, I'm sure he's listening as far as it goes. But we're supposed to be going for a 1,000-pound deadlift this year, and supposed to be doing it as a PR this month. And I'm sure we'll get all into this conversation as far as it goes too. But what I've also realized that my body is not really recovering as quick as it used to. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that, just like anything else, whether I'm prepping for a show or bodybuilding or powerlifting or hitting a PR, you got to be on point with everything. And, and I can take full accountability for that and say that, my rest hasn't been 100%. My food has not been 100%. And obviously training hasn't been 100%. So it's, we'll just have to see how things goes. And I don't even like to talk like that. Like, even when it comes to goal, I don't like to talk about, we'll see how it goes. Like, either you're going to do it or you're not.
Yeah.
But,
well, one of the questions I'm not going to ask you is, why do you train heavy like that? Because everybody else that I've seen interview has asked that.
Yep.
Not going to ask that, because I get it, right? Yeah. So I'm listening to that. Like, how do you not know? Right?
Like, I never understand it. And another thing I don't understand is, I think, hell, honestly, I think if you deadlift heavy, I think they use the analogy. I think they take, a horror story that has happened to any powerlifter or bodybuilder when it comes from heavy lifting. It's like, oh, you're going to end up like XYZ. And I'm just like, guys, like, there's millions of people out there that lift heavy, and, look at yourself. Obviously, you're still healthy, still walking around, still can, function. You still, like, everything's great, and that's just a whole another topic as well too, just in regards to the, you achieve these goals on a personal level as far as what you want to do, but obviously sometimes the criticism that comes from it at times, and this is something that I've never understood, because I personally don't do it myself, of course. So
are you preparing for anything right now?
I'll just say life, I guess you could say, in regards to a bodybuilding show. I work with my coach, Milos. He's in California. And same thing with him. I think, I've really been kind of keeping these guys on their toes a little bit, because we talked about doing another pro show this year. And once again, I just hate using this answer in regards to, we'll see. But in regards to that, I'm looking for, I know how I want things to align, when it comes to what I'm doing for this year. And things are aligning as I vision as far as that goes. So the answer to that is, am I preparing for a PR bodybuilding show? I'm just going to go on record right now and say, I'm going to say yes, actually. But in regards to the fact to where they align with how I'm expecting things to align when it comes to, when it comes to business, when it comes to life, as far as that goes, because obviously we have to prioritize some things. And I'm at a point now to where, things are going pretty good, of course, and I have to prioritize certain things and obviously kind of, take a hit when it comes to things that I want, of course, but, it's in regards to life and just what's going on around me right now.
And the way I kind of explain in the powerlifting world is before you can start preparing for a meet, you got to get to the starting line, right? So that starting line will be different as you're prepping for a show. So that starting line's in the future, but there's certain things that have to align up just to get you to that starting line.
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
So those are kind of the things that you're speaking about now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So because you have businesses, and other responsibilities, those become part of the blocks that have to line up. Because they actually pay for the prep.
Absolutely.
Circle with that.
Yep.
But from the physical standpoint, what are the things that you're trying to line up in this off season now? So when you come to that prep, which I hate the word prep because it's all prep,
exactly.
Right?
Yep. That's good. So, what I put out there is, and I never like to be a hypocrite in regards to like what I preached compared to what I'm doing. So you'll see me kind of put a lot of stuff out there on my platform in regards to like what's going on, even with, my lifestyle, where it is right now. So as far as when I prepare for physically, it's, and I talk about this a lot in regards to the fact of even regardless how busy I am when it comes to life and business, like I still have a routine. I still get up every morning. I do my cardio because that kicks off my metabolism. I still have a plan that I follow with my nutrition. I still get my meals in. I get about 6 meals in a day. I still train accordingly based off the plan. My programming when it comes to what body part I'm going to do on what specific day. Still work with my coach, Jailhouse Strong, Josh Bryant. We still do our program right now. Last lift that we did was 820 pounds for 3. Not last weekend, but the weekend before that. And it's just part of my program based off of me getting ready for this PR that's supposed to be coming up January 19th. And once again, like I don't normally talk like this when I say I was just talking to.
Well, it's floating, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I hate talking like that when it comes to supposedly, probably, maybe, as far as that goes, because I really, and I'm, kind of going back in regards to what I told him over there, but it's literally true. And I could give you a hard answer, because I was supposed to be doing 915 pounds at CT Fletcher's event, Iron Wars, January 19th. Is it going to happen? Probably not, because I've seen where my recovery is for my body. I've seen, a week later before when I would be able to rep out 800 plus pounds and want more days later. And, now it's taking a week, 10 days, 14 days to heal, to recover from not being sore. When I did 820 for 3, more than a week ago, I remember thinking, why am I this sore? Like, this isn't normal, as far as it goes. And I had to really identify and look at some things with myself in regards to what are the things that I'm not doing, and obviously I can identify it with the food, with the training, with the rest and recovery. So what I'm getting for physically now is, I'm always going to keep a foundation when it comes to my strength, my power, my look. I obviously still weigh myself every morning. There was one day that went by, I'll be honest with you, it was 2 days straight to where it was just some really exciting things taking place with business. And one day I ate one time. The next day I ate twice. And I jumped on the scale and I was like 9 pounds lighter. And for me to get into the 260 territory, that's super light for me. Because usually I weigh around like 278, 280, mid 280. And I had actually that's more than 9 pounds. I was roughly around like 269, which is, I haven't seen that number in a long time. So physically what I'm getting ready for is just maintaining my shape, size, strength, and still when I go to the gym, be able to still get up under the weight that I'm used to doing, of course, and still be able to maximize efforts. Excuse me.
Would it be safe to say that from the strength perspective, that objective that you have is really, you want to hit that before the end of Q1?
Yeah. As far as the PR goes, yeah. I mean, that would be the goal, because it's like what I've told, myself and obviously viewers and, family and friends is, hitting these PRs is a different type of success when it comes to business. Excuse me. It's so yeah, it's still in the window for me to hit that PR 100%. And it really just comes down to like turning that switch on. And, you know, when it comes to turning that switch on, is it on right now? I would say no, because there's some things that are primary before that. And, you know, once those things are fulfilled, then that's when I know that that switch will come on.
I think I have an idea where you're coming from. When for myself now, I need some objective every year to train for, which I'll put out there. And unlike a powerlifting meet or a bodybuilding show, it's not on a day.
Yep.
And the reason I don't have it on a day is because of what you're talking about. It may have to float. Right. Sometimes it floats forward. Then I'll get that fucker before the year's over.
Yep.
And then it's done. But other times it can kind of push back. And when it's unofficial, non-competitive or whatever it is, you have the ability to kind of do that because in business things come up.
Yep.
You know, opportunities come up. And, you know, if I was to go back to the old me when I was still competing, I wouldn't do those opportunities.
Exactly.
Because it would fuck up what's going to happen on that day.
Exactly.
Where it's that balance. So if I'm understanding you correctly, with the bodybuilding show, things need to be aligned because there are a lot of other things go in the back seat for at least 3 months during that time.
100%. Yeah, you hit it right on the money because kind of like what you said, when I first knew that I was going to hit 900 pounds, there was a lot of different things that were on my mind in regards to hitting that 900 pounds. And it was in regards to the statement that I wanted to make in regards of, you know, knowing the type of power that I could present. And, you know, and I've really never really talked about this. Like, wanting to hit 900 pounds was really a personal PR in regards to something that I personally wanted to do. And I got the question many times. Like, I remember even when I did 850, and guys in the gym were like, you know, are you stopping there? I'm like, no. Like, and they're like, why? Like, why are you going for more? What are you doing this for? It's like, it's a personal goal that I want to hit, you know, and I didn't know what was going to come from it. I wasn't thinking about being the strongest, you know, pro or being thought of as one of the strongest pros or anything like that. It was just something that I had set my mind to. It's something that obviously Josh and I had talked about when we first started training together, because I was lifting 800 pounds when him and I started, and my form was off. Technique, obviously, he helped me work on a lot of different stuff when it comes to my deadlifts. And he specifically asked me, he said, what's your goal? I said, I want to hit 900 pounds. And he said, we can do it. Like, you know, let's go. And him and I, we click like no other, because, you know, it's something in regards to when you can look at a person, talk to a person, you can see it in their eye that they possess that type of, you know, it's almost like that type of controlled aggression or that type of controlled crazy, I guess you could say. And I saw it in him, and obviously he saw it in me. And, you know, every time we talked, you know, telling the story earlier that, you know, he would always send me a text prior to every PR we would do. He would always ask me, like, you know, how do you feel? And it was always filled with, like, you know, determination, aggression. You would ask me how you feel, and I would say, like, I'm going to fucking kill it. Like, you know, it was, I'm not gonna say it was rage, but it was just like, you know, like, let me out the cage. Like, I'm ready for it now. It was never, oh, I'm feeling good, or I'm okay. It was like, it was aggression. So it was always, you know, from the minute we start working together, like you said, it's easy for me to identify, and it's easy for me to say, like, what I'm going to do, like you said, when I know as far as what I'm going to achieve. And and based off what we're talking about, that's where I am when it comes to things aligning, because that's where I am when it comes to, you know, life, business, family, you know, in regards to what I say I'm going to do when it comes to this year. And, you know, like you said, you just said it, like, there's some blocks prior to that next PR, you know, but that next PR is still going to happen, of course, but there's some serious blocks when it comes to there prior. How
much of an anchor do you think the deadlift is in your training? Let me reframe the question a little bit. If you were to remove that out of your training altogether, you're still going to like training, but are you going to love training?
Right. That's a good question. You know, it's, at one point, you know, when I could just kind of go back to that when I wasn't deadlifting like that. And did I still enjoy training? Yeah, because I still found other ways to maximize and test my power out, test my strength out. The worst thing I remember feeling when it comes to training is being limited. Like if I was like nursing a small injury or a small tear or something like that, because it's like, you know, it doesn't mean every time you go to the gym you have to push the limit or go extremely heavy or hit PRs or anything like that. But it's kind of like a car with, you know, 2,000 horsepower or something like that. Like you don't always have to use it, but you know, knowing it's there if you want to, you know, push the gas a little bit.
Well, it's building it too.
Exactly.
Right. So
exactly. Yeah. So, you know, and that's what it's like going to the gym. I have sometimes I go to the gym to where it's like, you know, I actually smile and I actually, you know, can laugh. And obviously, you know, what I've seen from that as well too is like my energy is a big, you know, key factor, even with people around me, you know, at the gym. Like, I've always said, like, I've always been curious on like what the outside sees, like, you know, when I am training or if I am serious or whatever the case is, because no doubt about it, if I'm in that type of mindset to where I am about to train, obviously intense or heavy or hit a PR or something like that, I don't know what type of energy I get off, but I don't get the effect of, you know, people coming over, saying hi, shaking my hand and stuff like that. Like I'll do a head nod, they head nod with me and that's it. But, you know, and obviously, you know, when I'm not, you know, lifting heavy or, you know, I'm kind of taking I hate to even say it, but let's say a light week or whatever the case is, like I can take my headphones off. You'll see me chat a little bit. You'll see me smile a little bit or whatever the case is. And then obviously at that point, you know, I'm kind of having conversations here and there and stuff like that. So, but you know, the overall question is if the deadlift wasn't in there, would I still enjoy it? Yeah, I mean, but
love it.
Exactly. Would I still love it? I would still love it. Yes. The way I see it is, you know, the deadlift is one of those things to where I could keep, you know, like pushing the envelope.
So if it wasn't there though, would you find something else to test your mind to be able to go that heavy on?
That's a good question. And absolutely, yes. 100%.
Okay. Now, if all those are removed, right, do you love the training or do you just like the training?
Probably just like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I was kind of going because that's that you were talking about the look. I call it, it's like meathead radar.
Yep.
Like gay people talk about gaydar. This is like meathead radar.
Exactly.
You can see that. Right. And if it's taken away, then from what I'm in a different world, it's a powerlifting world. You see a slow decline to where, you know, the lifters will just get to a point where, fuck it, I don't even want to do this. Because they don't have that anchor.
Exactly.
Because they do all the other shit to be able to do that stuff. Or that stuff helps satisfy their brain to be able to deal with normal life. Where you don't kind of get that out of dumbbell curls.
Exactly.
You know, the big compound lifts you do.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with that because, you know, it's a different type of mindset, obviously, going for these PRs for sure. You know, and there's been some chest days, arm days, shoulder days. I'm not going to say legs because I think legs is one of those things you can still push that envelope as far as that goes. Chest, I used to be like that. I used to bench heavy. I don't bench heavy anymore. The main thing I can do now is heavy dumbbells. I used to bench, and prior to me bench heavy, you know, I was doing 500 for reps and I was going for a personal goal of that. But I remember it was before I went pro as a bodybuilder. I was repping out 500 pounds and it was on, I still remember it to this day, it was on January 1st, the first day of the year. I think it was 2014 maybe. I wanted to see how many times I could rep out 500 pounds. And second rep, felt the worst pain in my chest ever. I literally thought somebody had came and snuck me with a bat, you know, and that's how hard it was, like instant, horrific pain. And yeah, I went to come to realize my tendon had popped off the bone.
Did you hear it? I mean, did you hear the snap?
People heard it. Yeah.
Did you bruise it all? Because I did that same thing and I didn't bruise it all. It was weird as hell.
100%. I went to the restroom and I took my shirt off. And I knew something was fucked up.
Yeah.
I never heard about it. I never experienced it. I think I heard about, you know, someone tearing a muscle, but my muscle didn't tear. It was a tendon that can't complete. Yeah. And I just remember taking my shirt off and seeing my pec, like.
That's what mine was, all under the nipple. It was like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was like, and I'm not a crier. I didn't boo-hoo, but a tear did come down my eye because I looked and I was just like, God damn, man, I'm fucked up. And
remember, going to the hospital emergency room immediately after that, and I walked in, and I'm thinking like, hey, like I'm messed up, like like cut me open now, let's fix this. And they come in, they do X-rays, and I don't know if I did an MRI. I'm for sure know it was an X-ray, but they looked at me and came back, and the doctor was just real nonchalant about it. And he was like, yeah, you tore your tendon, ruptured, and came out the bone. I said, cool, okay, well, when surgery? And he's like, yeah, it's no surgery. He's like, you need to go to orthopedic and get this looked at. I was like, you guys don't have orthopedics here? Like, you can't fix it? And they're like, yeah, but it's not life-threatening. It's not like we can't fix it. Like, you have to go to a specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it was a reality shocker, I guess you could say. But
how long did it take till they reattached it?
2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember talking to a specialist, and he told me, and insurance didn't cover it. I had to come out of pocket for it. And that's another thing that really sucked about it too, because it was just one of those things to where it costs a lot of money, of course, costs a lot of time, and recovery on it was pretty extensive. I mean, I remember, and that's another subject as well too. I remember the doctor telling me it's going to take about 9 to 11 months to heal and recover, and just like anything else, it's like I'm a fighter, when it comes to just anything or whatever. Like, I see these stories all the time to where it's like, I can, just imagine if something happened, if I lost an arm or something like that, and someone saying, hey, you're not going to be able to do this anymore. Like, I'm still going to try. And that's how I was with this injury. And when it happened, and after I had surgery, I just remember from the minute that I could like literally get out the bed and actually kind of move around, just thinking of anything and everything that I could do to speed up my recovery. And that's exactly what I did, from nutrition to rehab to going to cryotherapy to taking supplements to speed up recovery. And it healed a lot quicker. I remember going to the doctor. I don't want to exaggerate, but I want to say going to the doctor a few months later and him looking and him just realizing like, man, you're actually recovering like quicker than like I've ever seen, when it comes to this. And but that's just what I did. It's like I don't believe in just sitting on my ass and just waiting or anything like that. Like, if I could do something about it, then it's like I'm going to do it, especially like even in that situation when I'm injured and trying to recover. I want to recover as soon as I can and do.
How long were you immobilized?
Overall, right at about 5 months, 6 months.
All right. And then you took your time coming back.
Yeah, I somewhat. I mean, even when I was in a sling, I was still doing legs.
Yeah. I'm talking just that actual pack.
Oh yeah. When I remember I went to like 1 or 2 sessions with a physical therapist, and and I did it just to see in regards to like.
Did they put you in the water?
No, they
flipper thing.
No, they I felt like I needed to listen just in regards to like getting some basic, not because I had never had an injury that severe, and and I took some things and I left some things behind, and I remember one of the things that they told me was listen to your body. If your body ever starts to shake or if it feels like it's weak, I remember her telling me that as a bodybuilder we're taught to like push through the challenge, and if we're fatigued, then push yourself. But she's like, when it comes to injury, listen to your body. So if you ever start to feel fatigue or the body's shaking or that the left side is still not function, not let's say functional, whatever, she's like, then back off, or stop. And I listen when it comes to that, and that did help. So I would do curls, and what's crazy is when that happened, my arms are a pretty landmark that people recognize, and my arms measure anywhere from 22 to 23 as far as it goes. And when this happened, this arm had shrunk down to like 18 inches. It was literally it's like that movie, like Scary Movie, where the guy with the little hand and stuff like that's what my arm looked like. So I had a small arm and then this big arm over here, and I just remember having to catch this arm back up and get it back moving and stuff like that. And it took a number of months to do that, of course, but I finally got it back to normal, of course.
Did you have reoccurring issues with scar tissue tearing in that afterwards?
Yeah, I did. I had to, get a physical therapy, a lot of tissue work done. And I'm big on that as it is already in regards to getting work done, tissue work, of course. So yeah, the scar tissue was pretty severe for sure. It was painful, obviously, going in and getting work done on that issue.
When you were training, would it pop every now and again?
Not necessarily, because I just remember, and I remember when this happened. It's before I went pro as a bodybuilder, and the reason people knew about it is because when I was recording that bench, I was, I was recording it, and because I was trying to really put it on social media to say, hey, look at me, look how many times I'm about to bench 500 pounds, and it during that recording session, it popped, and you can hear it on the video, and I remember posting it, and it's, and this is a whole nother subject, it's crazy because I got wrote off a lot at that point in regards to just everything from lifting heavy. I got criticized. I got, wrote off in regards to my physique, bodybuilding. Like, hey, he's never going to go pro now. Oh, he's crazy for, ego lifting. I can't imagine how many times I've heard that. Like, I guess if you lift heavy, it's ego lifting. But, just in regards. And I remember, hearing these things, reading these things, and just thinking like, I'll show you guys. Like, I'm not obviously going to read this and, get written off or be discouraged about it or whatever the case. It fueled me even more as far as that goes. And I came back, and that's a year that I competed at nationals that year, and I went pro that year. And that's just a whole nother story in regards to obviously having something bad happen, getting, kind of chained about it, criticized about it, people obviously feeling like that's it for you. But, and honestly, it just made me, fueled me more, in regards to that. So it was, it definitely took some time, of course, to heal, recover, the whole nine, of course, but it was just one of those things to where when that happened, it was just like a setback. Like, it's like, I don't look forward to setbacks, but it's like, I sure don't get discouraged by it, because it's like, if anything, I use it as like motivation to like, show people that it's like, we're not done yet. Like, I think it's just part of just being a fighter, just overall.
Now, you grew up a small kid, right? You started training, I suppose, for football, right? Yep. But it wasn't until you were working in a GNC in college that you got into bodybuilding. Yeah. So how did that happen? Well, first off, how'd you end up in a GNC?
I was, so I went from high school to college, and I remember being in college, and I would say just like anything in life, I was going through a bad breakup. My little high school sweetheart. And when I went to college, I just needed something as an outlet, and I would just work out. And I went to college weighing around 175, 180 pounds. And I went to college, working out a lot, didn't have a lot of money. So I just remember, actually, my working at GNC was an upgrade, because I used to work at Hollywood Video.
The video store.
Yeah, the video store.
Did you have the private room in the back?
Yeah, exactly. I used to put the movies on for the people and stuff. I was a cashier at Hollywood Video. It was crazy. And then I obviously got tired of Hollywood Video. Then I got moved up to GNC because I got tired of working at the video store. But with all that being said, it's I just remember lifting out with a guy. Actually, he's still a good friend of mine still to this day. His name's Ryan. Called him Rhino back in the day. And, I was 180 pounds soaking wet, and I just remember eating whatever I could get my hands on, because I just remember thinking, because I was ripped up, had abs, athletic. Arms I was kind of noticed from my arms in high school. They were like 18 inches back then. And
at 180?
Yeah. Like arms and shoulders run in my family, my brother, my dad. So if you just look at all of us, we have big shoulders and big biceps. We always had to catch our chest up, when it comes to our biceps and triceps and shoulders. So yeah, I remember getting noticed from that in high school. And so at that point, I was in college, I was eating TV dinners, hot dogs, chili, peanut butter jelly sandwiches, anything I could get my hands on. And I remember also working enough just so I could go to the store to afford creatine. And back then,
I know.
yeah.
That was this bomb, right? That was the shit.
Yeah, it was like, I remember the go-to thing back then was creatine mixed with glutamine and protein. And, I don't know where I got this conjunction from, but I just remember eating as much as I could every single day. And every night before I went to bed, I would have a meal. And then back then they had these mega mass protein jugs,
2,000 calorie things.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So I would get that. I would put 2 scoops in a blender, peanut butter, banana, honey, oatmeal, and ice cream and with milk. And I don't know how many calories that was, but I would eat like 2 TV dinners. I was already full, and I would drink that behind it. And I just remember gaining weight day after day after day after day. And after a semester of coming home, after a semester of being in college and then coming home, I remember going to my parents' house. It was around the holidays, and I walked in and everybody just looked at me like, what in the world did you do? Like, what happened to you? Like, cause I had went from 180 to like 245 to 250, naturally. It wasn't really a big deal to me because I didn't honestly think it was that noticeable.
Well, you see yourself every day. Right?
Exactly. Right. And I knew my clothes were fitting differently as far as it goes, but I didn't realize it would just be that much of a wow factor when somebody else saw me that hadn't seen me in a while. And,
how are you training then?
Heavy. Yeah, heavy. I've always enjoyed training heavy. Even my workout partner in college, I remember, because he's probably listed as far as it goes, but he used to ask me. He was like, "Hey, man, like, are you taking anything?" I was like, "No." Like, what do you mean taking anything? He's like, it's like juice, anything like that. I said, "No, man, like, I'm not." And he didn't believe me. He was like, just time had went on, and I was just gaining this weight. My strength was going up, and we would just work out. And at one point he was stronger than me, but as I was eating and growing and my strength was increasing, I surpassed him. And, obviously he was cool at that point and still is cool, but it was just one of those things to where it was hard to imagine that, from the growth that took place from just in a semester from that to that, and with being natural was, I just thought it was normal. But
did you have any aspirations of competing then, or just getting big and strong?
I just wanted to be big and strong. I just always wanted to be that big guy. I honestly always just wanted to be the strongest guy in the gym. I wanted to have the look. I wanted to be strong. I didn't want to be outlifted, because even when I came home from college and start lifting at some of the bigger gyms, obviously there's a lot of other bigger guys there at that point. I still, wanted to be that guy, and that's a whole nother story as well too, because it's like some of those good friends that I met back then when I first came home after college are still my good friends now to this day. And that's another story in regards when I was introduced to the side of bodybuilding. And it's actually when I first started, supplements. And that kind of shows that, like, I was natural, because I went from 245, 250 to jumping on my first cycle. And I jumped from 250 all the way up to 310. And strength was just a whole nother level. And then at that point, I had people coming up to me, and I was only 19, 20 years old. Actually, was I that young? No, because I was mid-20s, actually. Then at that point, I had people coming up to me, asking me, "Hey, like, you should compete in bodybuilding, like, because like you're already 300 something pounds at mid 20 years old, and you're already looking like you're pro now." So, and then I did do a show after that. It was the Lone Star Prince Harrison show. I remember doing it, and I hated it. It was like I did one show, and at that point, I really had no desire to want to do another show after that.
What didn't you like about it?
It was a lot. Like,
well, let's reframe this. Was there anything you liked about it?
Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. Because it's like, cardio, hated it. Back then it was like an old school method of nutrition. Don't use seasoning. Eat bland food. I mean, hell, it worked because I was in shape, of course. But I just remember thinking like, man, like how the hell can someone enjoy doing this in regards to eating some chicken without any seasoning and potatoes and rice with nothing on it, or beef and stuff like that. And that's the way I was taught back then, to where it's like, you don't eat for flavor, you eat just for nutrients to get it in your body and train and work out, and that's it. But as far as anything I like, I just, no, not at all. I just remember getting ready for a show, just thinking like, man, I can't wait till the show's over. Like I'm never doing this shit again ever in my life. And that's it.
What pulled you back in?
It was my son. It was, it's still, something that burns deep in my heart right now. Years later, after I competed in that first show, you know, obviously lived life and ended up being in a relationship. Lady I was with, her and I, we had a baby boy together. His name is Devin, so I have it tattooed all over my body. He was born with a heart condition. I remember being at I remember him being born. I was there, obviously, when he was born, holding him. And I remember the doctor saying, hey, or the nurse, saying, hey, you know, obviously you guys can take your boy home today, but you have to make sure you have a car seat. I was like, oh shit, like I don't have a car seat. Let me go to Toys R Us, get a car seat and get that taken care of. And I remember probably about an hour later getting a call from her. She was upset. She was crying and she was like, you know, hey, doctor needs to talk to you. And I said, okay. And doctor got on the phone and said that he had to have open heart surgery that day. And I was like, you know, what are you talking about? And he had developed a condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, basically where his heart didn't develop all the way. So I went back to the hospital. We met with the director, the board director, the surgeon, the whole nine. Grace of God, the guy that was actually going to do the surgery was a very intelligent person that had almost, I'm not gonna say he created this concept, but he was very in tune with how everything would go with the surgery, and was pretty confident that things would go well, you know, as far as that goes. And, you know, when it comes to this surgery, you can look it up, but once again, it's called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. You have one when the child is born, you have another one at 3 months, then you have another one at 3 years old, I believe. So there's 3 different parts to the surgery. He had one when he was the next day. He did extremely well, made a full recovery, did well. I think he probably stayed in the hospital for maybe a week or 2. And then we came home. He had to have a G button installed, because that's where we had to feed him in regards to, you know, his food, of course, and feeding him because he couldn't be fed by the mouth. But extremely, extremely handsome young man, of course, and very intelligent, just full of life, a whole nine, of course. You would have never thought or known that he had any type of defect or surgery or anything like that. And months later, he had his second surgery, did well. And so that was at 3 months. Then at about the 5 or 6 month marker, started having some complications. I still remember us having to take him to the hospital, and we thought it was just an infection. That's originally what it was. And it went from an infection to this complication to us thinking like he'll be in and out of the hospital in a week or so to now he's spending month after month after month in the hospital. Now he needs a kidney transplant. Now he needs, this transplant. Now he needs this surgery. Now he needs to be a candidate for another heart transplant because his heart, based off the work that they did, wasn't going to work. He got denied for that. And, excuse me. So with that being said, that was still the same mentality that I have when it comes to, I don't know what's instilled that in me. I don't, because I've had this similar mentality for some time now. Because I still remember the doctor, saying that he wasn't going to make it. And I still never lost faith. I still never believed him. I still never said, that's it. I still never gave up. So, and it was an initial point to where things had got pretty bad. And I had to accept the truth, at that point, of course. And I remember being at home one night and getting a call from her that he had flatlined, and I rushed up there, and that was it. So, you know, so in regards to what got me back into bodybuilding, that, you know, I, maybe 3 to 4 months later, I, you know, was, you know, kind of, I'm not gonna say necessarily losing my mind, but it's like based on the road that I was going, because after that happened, you know, I was going out, got in trouble in regards to some bar fights here and there. Didn't go out looking for trouble, but it was one of those situations to where it's like it was in there, and it was like, you know, that's why I say all the time, sometimes you can look at someone, you can tell there's something there, and it's like, don't mess with that person. And, you know, so, and that's kind of like where I was as far as that goes. And, you know, obviously, you know, probably still, you know, where I am still to this day, obviously, of course, but it's controlled, of course, in regards, which is another reason why I'm able to do these big PRs and stuff like that. Cause I can take.
So what was the tipping point then? Cause that, I mean, that's unimaginably rough to go through.
Right. You know, tipping point was one evening when I had got into trouble from being in one of those bar fights and sitting there and thinking, man, this is not what my son would want. Like, this is not a good example. This is not why I did it. I was confused. I didn't understand a lot. I didn't know why this had happened, but I was like, this sure as hell isn't it. So it was literally to the point to where it was a tipping point to where me reflecting and saying, like, I remember having a conversation with a family member of mine, and he said, you can either go to the left or you go to the right. And he said, the left, you're going to lose your mind, you're going to get in trouble, you're going to go downhill, you're going to lose everything. Or you can go to the right and you can feed off of this. And I was going to the left from a short time there, and it was when I was sitting in that jail cell that day from being in a little bar fight to where I thought about what he told me. And I remember when he told me that, I was just angry because he told me that at the funeral. And I reflected at that point, and I thought, I've been going to the left all this time. I need to go to the right, and I need to use this. I hate saying it. I mean, not necessarily in a positive way, but I definitely don't need to be doing it this way. So I'm going to use this to push myself with anything and everything in life. This is what I'm going to use. And that's exactly, you know, that's what allowed me the next week after that. I went to the gym I still train at sometimes now. It's called Strauss Fitness. It's in Euless, Texas. And I went over there and met my first coach that I had worked with. His name was Herman, and went over there, and he knew my story. I told him what happened, and he just told me straight up. He said, hey, you're just going to keep your head down. You're going to focus. You're going to train hard. And he said, you know, I believe in you. Like, you know, I really believe that you can be a pro bodybuilder and that you have what it takes, the body, the physique, and the mindset. And we trained, and we won our first show, then we won our second show, and then.
So what was that show like?
It was just I remember the day before I had to compete at that show, and it's crazy too, because it's like it's been like this even after big PRs. But I remember the day before having to compete at that show, I got emotional. I got emotional in the shower, because it's like it was like workout to workout to workout. Like it was literally like it was just a whole nother level. Like I felt unstoppable. Training, like even if it did hurt or even if it was painful during workouts, it's like I embraced it, you know. And it was just one of those things to where it was, you know, compared to my first show that I did when I was like, man, this sucks. It was just like, it was like, I love this. And you know, I embraced every minute of it. And it was now at that point, it was addicting, you know. It was literally my peace as well too, because, you know, and that's still what I talk about still to this day, like in regards to, you know, when I have been injured, when I've been injured, man, it has been a nightmare. And I'll say it's been a night for probably people around me as well too, because it's like I can't do what I enjoy doing or do what I love. And, you know, because it's just at that point to where it's like, regardless of business or, you know, family or this, whatever like that, like I think we all have outlets in life in regards that really make us happy, or even when something is done. Like, I think that's why a lot of times you see somebody go from being a professional at this to, they can't just sit down. They find another outlet.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that as well too. But the difference obviously was it was just a whole nother mindset in regards to, the way it was the first show to compare to what it was now at that point, and of course, and then going forward. And it's always been a motivation. That's why even, when I train, like, I've said that many times in regards to like feeling unstoppable, or, if I train with, you and I train, and it's like, I'm not going to let you beat me, because it's like, the way I look at it, it's like, I don't have to express like, what's on my mind or whatever the case is, but I look at it as like, I got something in me. And I think, a lot of people, have these things to where they have something internally or whatever the case is that just keeps them going. But it's like, man, you get some of those people together and it's like,
oh, it can get bad. It can be good, but it can get bad.
Exactly. So, and that's, and I love it, because I've been in the same room with those people and I've trained with those people, and it's like, I love it. And that's a whole nother thing too, when it comes to energy. It's like, man, it's like, that's just a whole nother conversation. Like, doing these crazy lifts or PRs and stuff like that. It's like, man, it's like when you got that energy around you, like you said, it can get bad, but it's pretty, it's pretty savage as well too. And I love it.
What was the trajectory after that first show to when you turned pro?
The first show that I did before everything.
Well, not that first one, that doesn't count.
Okay, for sure.
That's one you hated, but this one where you went all in at that point.
Yep.
Into the bodybuilding.
Yep.
How many more shows was it until you got your pro card?
So it was, I did 2 to 3 shows that I won back to back as an amateur. And I remember my first pro qualifier that I did to try to go pro. I lost that one. I was at 9th place. And I was kind of a reality check because I had won every show prior to that as an amateur. And I went there and I lost. And I was just like, whoa, okay. Like, first time, losing on this streak. And it's like, I don't like this, but, but I just kept coming back as far as it goes. But
well, what did you change after that? Basically, you went from one level to another level. I
knew, I could reflect and look at, things that I knew that I needed to get better. I knew that I still needed to bring up my chest. I knew I still needed to bring up my legs. I knew I still needed to, my coach always was just real straightforward with me that where when you go pro, you need to look like a pro. You don't need to look like a amateur that's going to grow into a pro. So, and that's really what the maturity that it took in regards to, going from that amateur, even an amateur mindset, to every time we went to go for that pro card is to present myself in regards to obviously the look that I had, body parts that needed to be brought up, of course, and to make sure that what I was displaying was that look as a pro that was going to allow me to be a successful pro. And, what came from that is, it's kind of like I would say it's kind of like a pro and a con, because it's like that's another subject as well too, because, when it comes to being a professional bodybuilder, of course, it's subjective, right? It's not like power. It's not like strength. It's not like, me looking at this guy over here and knowing what type of numbers. And that's another thing too. Like, anytime I've ever done power, I've never went against somebody else. I've done it in regards to like what I know I'm going to do. That's another reason, like when it comes to like, talking to, C2 Fletcher, stuff like that, how I used to talk in regards to, when you say you used to walk into a room and think, which one of y'all is going to get second? Because it's like, I know what I'm going to do. And that's kind of how it was when it came to myself, because it's like when I'm confident in regards to knowing what I could do and knowing that it's not subjective based off of someone's opinion, then it's like I got a lot more steam, going towards that. So some shows were just like, it's a prep, no doubt about it, was like always passionate, because regardless of the fact, like I'm gonna do every workout week after week with full intensity. And, there's no slacking, there's no giving up as far as it goes. There's a lot of different factors that obviously go into competing as a bodybuilder. They call it peak week, of course, making sure things are dialed in, making sure water protocol, the whole 9, of course. Obviously you can work your butt off, of course, and obviously we have a similar person in mind that we know that did it for years in regards. I remember first seeing him and just thinking like, God dang, man, like this guy, and he was my coach, John Meadows, you know, and his physique and his caliber that he brought to the stage was just undeniable. And did he get denied sometimes? Absolutely. It's just something that sometimes I just could not understand. And, you know, and I've seen that in the industry as far as it goes to where it's like, I don't understand it all. And maybe it's not my job to understand every part of it as far as that goes. But it's like, I think at the end of the day, it's just like anything else. When you can look at yourself and ask yourself, did you do everything in your power to achieve what you want to achieve on a personal level? And you say yes, then it's like, I think that's all you can ask for. But obviously, you know, when it comes to wanting to prevail and succeed and knowing that that success is within someone's decision, you know, that's something that you just got to eat, you know, and kind of just keep coming back year after year after year. And, but that's, you know, that's the good and bad, obviously, to come with the industry, of course, too. But, you know, I think that's a lot of the reason too, as why that, you know, I've enjoyed so much of the, you know, the power and my strength and the whole nine and stuff like that, because it's based off of the things that I decide that I can achieve based off the work that I put in at the end of the day. So that seemed attainable, you know.
Well, you said you had to go from an amateur mindset to a professional mindset. How would you distinguish the differences between those two?
You know, as an amateur mindset to a professional, it's literally like, you know, because I talk about this, it's like when you walk in the gym, it's like knowing that you're like a 1%, and I'm talking about the mindset, and you can think about this in other different ways. But when I walk in the gym, I remember walking in the gym and just thinking sometimes to where I would look around, I would see, you know, smiles, laughing, you know, pushing here, pushing there, this and this, whatever the case. Whoever I had working out with me knew that doesn't fly as far as it goes. So a professional mindset was just walking in the gym and just like, you know, just like being a professional with a business. Like, you know, there's a little bit of time to play, joke around, stuff like that. But professional mindset is like when we're in there, like, you know, it's time to work. And you'll see maybe a smile crack towards the end, of course, you know, but knowing that you are a small percentage of a person or individual, you know, compared to everybody else in there that's just maybe there for recreation, or maybe that's there to say that they want to do something, but, you know, from what a person says they want to do to compared to what they're doing, it's two different things, of course. So the professional mindset was like in regards to being there and showing and doing the work, you know, every single day after day, even like I said, even days that I didn't feel like doing it, even days I was tired, even days I was exhausted. Like it's just part of the territory in regards to like, you know, a lot of these, you see a lot of generic sayings. I don't even call it generic sayings, but you know, you just hear the common things in regards to like, yeah, you know, dedication, doing the things you don't want to do, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's like, oh, that's generic. It's not generic. It's actually true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like those things you hear are true. You know, those things play a part in life in regards to, yeah, when you are tired, when you are frustrated, when you are feeling this way, when you are feeling that way, it's like you still got to, you know, pull your britches up and still get it done.
Have you found the longer that you do it, the more you have those days?
In regards to
training?
Not so much. I mean, because it's, you know, it's, it is, that's a good question. It is a type of mentality to where, you know, yeah, it does vary. It does vary, no doubt about it. And
I'm not talking about when you're there, just getting there.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's a lot of days and you just don't want to do it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you have to do it. There's no choice.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, and I think, you know, because compared to where it is now, compared to where it was back then, it's like I didn't have any idea where bodybuilding, lifting heavy, didn't even know none of this stuff would take place whatsoever. Didn't, you know, obviously back then when I was bodybuilding, I had a goal of wanting to be on an Olympian stage. And I had a certain idea as far as how I thought it would take place, but it didn't go that route. So, you know, and when I saw that it didn't go that route, you know, one year I would try to aim for it again the next year. I didn't turn the vision off, you know, even when I started lifting heavy or whatever the case is. It was literally just something that I enjoyed doing, you know, in regards to that. But I still had no type of idea as far as like, you know, what was going to come place from, you know, me lifting heavy or even, you know, bodybuilding, especially even after I'd done a pro show and I didn't win. You know, when you do personally speaking, when I did a pro show and I didn't, do well or whatever the case is, I would say this. For one, I know for a fact why I didn't do well because, anytime I didn't do well, that plays into the part where I had distractions. And that's a whole nother subject in regards to, like, I don't care what you're doing in life, whether it's business, powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever the case is. You got distractions, you got things around you that are unhealthy or whatever the case is, it will affect you and it will set you back 100%. And I've seen that, of course, and it's true. So, if I could tell myself now to, actually, no, I wouldn't tell them because I think that's part of learning as well, too. So I would just let it be, honestly. So, but I will say that.
Well, not maybe, right?
Yep.
Because there's two paths you can take in that situation.
Yep.
You can blame others or look in yourself.
100%.
Right. So you may not want to tell your old self that you still want your old self to learn those lessons, but you want to be able to say, don't blame other people.
Exactly. 100%. It's, and I agree with that too, because it's.
Well, we see it a lot, especially in strength sports and bodybuilding, is the blame always goes to other places.
I got stories for you. So if we get into those stories, it's like, we'll be here all 10, 15 hours as far as that goes. But, I think it's another one of those sayings too, to where it's like, sometimes I feel like it's necessary to learn the hard way, whether that's blaming ourselves or blaming other people, maybe at the end of the day, we all take accountability as far as it goes, but it's like, I think it's a learning lesson, and but I also think that helps you prepare for bigger things in life too. So that way, when it's like, when that button is there that says "do not touch," you don't touch it. So back then it was like, you can say "do not touch," and I would touch it and I would press it. Like, well, let's see what happens, and obviously, when you do those things, then hell comes with it as well too. So.
Would you say that all those things and all those lessons, when in the business world, they're all there, but would you say it's compounded and it's harder than in the bodybuilding world? Because in the bodybuilding world, you can control a lot of the variables, right? Where in the business world, you can control a lot of variables, but there's a lot of variables you just can't control.
For sure,
which mentally, for myself, there's a lot I learned in powerlifting that definitely carries over to business. Right. But there's way more uncertainty in the business area, which I believe the powerlifting helped me to be able to deal with that. So it's a two-pronged question. Did the bodybuilding help you deal with, the business world? Yep. And then in the business world, with all that other uncertainty, that's a mind fuck too. Absolutely. Because you can't control some things, but you want to control them, but you can't, but you think you can. Absolutely. You want to be able to. Absolutely. 100%.
Everything on the bodybuilding and powerlifting side definitely has turned me into, and obviously I'm still learning, as far as that goes, but, the things that happen with the ups and downs of bodybuilding, even ups and downs of being strong, of being, powerful as far as that goes, setbacks in life in general. And I know you see it as well too. It's like, you can see the people, around you, in regards to like, I'm not gonna say the ones that have it and the ones that don't, but it's like, I've obviously in the business world, I've been around, a group of people that have seen or been in situations where it's like, oh man, like, we're not going to make it, or, or this sucks, or this, or excuse here, or excuse there, or fear here, or fear there. And I think everyone has a certain emotion, and I'm not going to say my emotion is, it's not anger, but it's just like, you hear those excuses or you hear those things, and it's just like, what are you talking about? Because it's like, on the bodybuilder side, working your butt off day after day after day, getting up in the morning, doing cardio, eating accordingly, being structured, having this, doing that, self-discipline, of course, and then still put in the work and then still not receiving the outcome that you expected. Obviously, has that happened in business? Absolutely. Do you give up? No. Like, how does that impact you mentally? It makes me want to go harder next time, so same thing when it comes to business. It's like, life isn't easy. That's obviously one thing I've learned years ago. You could do everything right, or you could put, these, that's generic saying, hey, if you work as hard as you can, even when you don't feel like doing it, this, whatever the case is, you'll win. You'll win, but it doesn't mean like you're going to win like right then.
Well, being smarter about it is part of the equation too, because while bodybuilding, you're not pounding the Mega Mass 2000 with peanut butter and all this shit at night. So you still have to work just as hard, but you got to work. Sometimes people say work smarter, not harder, but that's not true.
Exactly.
You got to work just as hard, but smart.
100%. Yeah. And it's like, a lot of, and so when it comes to bodybuilding, it's, and it's amazing because, like I said, I never seen it, back then. I never thought about, in regards to how this can shift over into other aspects of my life. I didn't think of it like this. I wasn't trying to think about it like this because obviously, my definition as far as what I thought what my life was going to be was an Olympian bodybuilder, on, YouTube or whatever, talking about being Mr., possible Olympian or whatever the case is, but that's not how, things happen. But it did prepare me, to, be in settings and obviously be in positions when it comes to business that I had no idea that I would even be a part of, to this day. But it's in regards to the fact of, how setbacks and how, things that have happened, failures, the whole nine, things that happened in my life that were, unfortunate that, I was confused about like why it happened or whatever the case is, that developed a strength in me that, gave me this internal power in regards to the, mentally as far as it goes to where, it's just a big part in regards to like when it comes to the people we surround ourselves with, it's like, it's like having a business and building the right team behind it, or it's like I was talking to my friend about this other day. It's like talking to 50 people, and it's like if you walk up to someone and just ask them a question and look at them in their eyes and say, are you ready to succeed? Do you want to do whatever it takes to be successful? You're going to have some people that say, yeah, sure. Next person. Do you want to do whatever it takes to be successful? Yeah. Next person. Do you want to do whatever it takes to be successful? And you could tell based off of the way a person looks at you, the way their voice is, the way they talk. And when you get a person that says, yes, absolutely. And you can see it in their eyes. They're just like, all right, well, come with me, so, and that's in regards to like, and I've been fortunate, of course, to, especially based off of things that have happened in life to where I've had many mentors in life that have, taught me a lot, of course, in regards to not necessarily just about business, but about life. And everything they taught me back then years ago, obviously are things that I still use to this day. And they're still a phone call away. And obviously that's...
How far after GNC did you get into medical sales?
Oh man, I was 10 years. Am I that old? Actually, let me see. I was...
You might be.
So yeah, that was about, I would say, that's just a rough number as far as, I'm going to say about 10 years as far as that goes. And
did you see yourself in sales back then? Where did you, when you were working in GNC, where did you see you professionally? What did you want to do?
I had no idea. I honestly had no idea. I came from GNC I went back home. I ended up working at UPS as a unloader.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
The 4-hour shifts.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I just knew that there were promotion opportunities to become a manager, and I wanted to know about it. And they told me like, hey, if you work your ass off here doing this, you can move up to the sort out. Then you go from sort out, then you can end up becoming a manager, a supervisor, and then as supervisor you can make X, Y, Z. So at that time I made it up in my mind that it's like, man, I want to be a manager at UPS. Actually, it makes decent money, and I'm gonna do that. And I worked my butt off, got promoted to sort, then went from sort out, then I got promoted to a manager. And I was a manager for about 1 week. And then I remember having this employee come up to me that used to work with me on the sort out, and he didn't like it. And this is another learning lesson as well too, but he didn't like it that I was promoted. And he comes to me, and I was telling him to go from this trailer to another trailer. And he says, kiss my ass. Like, I'm not doing anything you say. And I said, you're gonna do what I say because I'm the manager. He says, no, I'm not gonna do what you're gonna say. And he's like, and I'm gonna make sure that I get you fired from this job. I said, okay, we'll see about that. And sure enough, that day after work, I get off, and he's waiting for me outside of the parking lot. And I said, all right, well, let's go. And we go over to the field next door off of work property. And, you know, he put his looks up and I put mine up, and, you know, true story, you know, I beat him up, you know, and I'm thinking that's it. So next morning I go into work and they're like, hey, we need to speak to you down in the office. It's like, all right. I go to the office and there he is, you know, all, you know, bruised up, beat up. And they're like, hey, did you beat this guy up last night? And I was like, I mean, yeah, like he was waiting for me outside of work when I got off. And he said, you know, and I said, but we didn't do it on work property. Like it was way across the blocks away off of property. And they're like, well, Joe, like we understand that. We understand your efforts and not beating him up on work property, but you can't beat your employees up. And I was like, I mean, guys, he was waiting on me. Like, what do you want me to do? And they're like, well, you know, long story short, they fired me. And
so had he beat you up, you wouldn't have been fired.
I have no idea. I think they kept him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think they fired me. And but I had so many jobs from, man, I've been fired so many times it doesn't even make any sense. Like I feel like I've done it all. I've worked at and it's funny now, of course, because that just means I was like really, I would get a job and I would think, oh, I guess this is what my career is going to be. Then I would get fired. You know, I remember working for FedEx and thinking, oh, this is a good union job. And
fuck UPS, I'm going to go work for your competitor because you fired my ass.
Yep. And it's like, and I got fired from there. I remember being a delivery driver and I got fired from there. I remember thinking, you know, my dad's a truck driver. So I've thought of many different tasks year after year after year, thinking about what, you know, can I do? And that's just another thing when it comes to, you know, young people in general. Like I was a smart kid. My parents thought I was going to be the next doctor or lawyer in my family. I made AB honor roll all through elementary to high school, you know, college. I didn't graduate college. I got to college and I was just like, I don't like this. Like, you know, what is the point of me studying this, and this? And, you know, and even in college, I didn't have an idea what I wanted to do. I just was going to get my bachelor's, of course, but I just didn't understand why I was learning these things that didn't pertain to, you know, something that I did want to do, you know, when it comes to business or whatever the case is. So that's when I came home, started working. And the sales part came, I kind of found my niche when I got into the fitness industry because I started off as a trainer and that's when 24-hour fitness was around and doing well as far as that goes. Excuse me, not 24-hour fitness, Valley Total Fitness. I don't know if you remember that. Presidents, remember them? Okay. So started off as a trainer with them. Same talk, had a talk with the manager. I always wanted to know about, you know, opportunities of how I can grow within a company with any job I did. And he told me, hey, you do good as a trainer, you can advance up to a director, general manager, and you become a manager. You can make this. And just like anything else, I worked my butt off to get to that point, and I ended up becoming a director like 3 months into being a trainer, and then running the facility, and ended up hiring, developing, firing staff as far as it goes, and building up a good crew as far as that. And I did that for a number of years until Bally's went bankrupt, and then that's when LA Fitness came around. Then I went over to LA Fitness and worked there as a manager for a while. And I want to say it's one other gym, but my sales background came from the fitness industry. You know, learning how to, you know, the way I see it is like when you talk to someone about, you know, their health and fitness, and as far as that goes, like you can't talk a person into regards to, you know, wanting to stay alive, you know, for their health, whatever the case is. Like that's a good way in regards to getting your real foot in the door when it comes to sales right there, is be able to talk to somebody obviously about their health. But that's allowed me to move over into bigger things because I learned about sales, you know, when it comes to that industry, that allowed me to obviously switch over to the medical field and medical sales. And when I did medical sales, that was just one of those things to where it kind of came off real natural, you know, when it came to medical sales, because obviously at that point, you know, we're talking to doctors, of course. We're talking to, of course, doctors in regards to different, you know, things that are happening, of course, with their patients, their clientele, the whole nine, of course, scripts, the whole nine. And it was just one of those things that it really became kind of natural based off the background I had already had.
When you had the Bally sales background, was it based upon the 4 objections of, God, what was it? Time, commitment, spouse, and money?
100%, yeah. And
now that can't carry over to the medical sales.
No, I mean,
you're not going to say, well, what's your significant other going to think about this MRI machine?
No, because it's like medical sales was literally, I mean, it's just like, medical side was like based off of networking, who
Yeah.
you know, then who they know. Then it's like, when you set obviously one group up or one doctor up, whatever the case is, then they give you some referrals, of course, so, and that's just in regards to when it comes to a lot of different business. I mean, a lot of people obviously say it's not based off what you know, it's based off who you know, of course. And obviously that does play a big part, of course, in growth and success and the whole nine as far as that. But medical sales, I saw that to be very effective in regards, because actually one of my first accounts when it comes to medical sales that I was able to bring on some information to as far as what we were doing on the medical side of things was an old client of mine when I used to be a trainer at the gym. So, and that came hand in hand, of course, because at that point when I switched over to medical sales, it was me thinking about, well, who do I personally know, and then obviously it came to a good friend of mine who was an old client that was an MD that I went to him first, and then went to him, set him up, of course, then he referred me to other doctors, and then that's pretty much how we grew the business at that point.
Did your physique work as an asset or a liability?
Asset for sure, because it's like, and that's something I talk to about my audience now in regards to, I do feel like, possessing a shape, a look, and even your demeanor, even the way you talk, obviously, it wouldn't be nothing, obviously, if I had a certain type of physique, but I was timid, or if I was passive or if I was shy or whatever the case is. I have one person that I mentor about that. I won't mention his name, but he has a physique, and I'm trying to get him to be more of that, confident, regardless when you're speaking. So it definitely is an asset for sure, but it doesn't stop there when and I would say this, excuse me. There's been some times to where it's been an ultimate stereotype to where it's like, oh, look at this big guy, look at this meathead, and obviously that's happened as well too. But when it comes to those situations, like I love it, because until we start talking and we start talking about life, then obviously that mentality is kind of switched around. And,
well, the key thing there is somebody told me when I was in high school, that was a mentor of mine, that your size will always demand attention.
Yep.
Any room you ever walk into, what you say after that is up to you.
100%.
So even with, oh, look at this meathead, they're looking at you.
Yep.
Right. So you have their attention. Now, if you're, don't have the charisma, you're shy, all these other things, well, then you just validated their perception.
Absolutely. And I always like to, kind of, I'm not gonna say necessarily kill things with kindness, but I've had it happen, of course. I've been in professional environments, and, usually when I'm traveling or doing something or going to an event or whatever, you can't obviously hide your size, especially when you're a big guy, as far as that goes. And I've had it happen to where, I've walked past a group and I've heard the word, steroids. And it's like, and I have the decision to where if I want to walk away and I didn't hear it, or if I want to turn around and just, kill them with humor. Obviously I'm not, cause it's like, what do they expect? I mean, they probably expect me to turn around and maybe rage or, get up in their face or this, but I have had it happen. And at one point I did decide to entertain it, and I just like to kind of kill them with kindness. And I remember hearing it and walking up to them, and I said, hey, it actually requires a little bit more than that. You actually do have to go to the gym, you have to train, you have to eat accordingly and stuff like that. And he kind of looks at his buddy and, he's like, oh no, like I didn't mean it like that. I'm just like, well,
he didn't expect you to say anything.
Exactly. I'm just like, well, I'm just curious. How did you mean it? And, but it was just nice, obviously. But, I don't see anything, obviously, when it comes to stuff like that, it's like, last thing I'm gonna do, of course, is show out or, act up or anything like that. It's just like, you just have to humor people sometimes. Yeah, absolutely.
When did you go into business for yourself?
Actually, it was my older brother. Actually, when it came to that, I have a brother that's 2 years older than I am, and he was always the type to, come to me and say, "Hey, I have this idea, I have this idea, I have this idea," and I kind of saw how he was doing things at one point, and some of the things that he went after, sometimes didn't go through, of course, when it comes to that. So on a personal level, when I decided to finally go into business for myself, it's when I got to the point where I was working at the gyms, I was training people, of course, clients. And And I think that's right around the time to where we kind of start getting introduced to independent trainers, you know, to where at that point, knowing that you could be at a gym, but you weren't an employee for a gym. You would just basically paying a gym boot rent. And it was literally at that point to where I decided, because I was like thinking, why am I making this gym this money and I'm keeping a percentage of it? And when I could pay this fee and pay this, and I could keep a mass majority of it.
Yeah.
And it literally was at that point. And at that point, I just can't recall really ever wanting to go back to corporate America or going back to, unless it was like when I got to the medical side, obviously that was more, you know, dominant in regards to the type of money you could make, of course. So, you know, but when I decided to finally, you know, and I guess you could even say when it comes to that, it was kind of working for yourself as well too, because it was based off of the work you put in, of course, based off of, you know, the type of money you can make, of course, but it required, you know, your hustle. It didn't require me going to a job for 8 hours and doing a duty. It literally required from like how much work and how much hustle that I got out there to do. To
Now on the medical side, what equipment were you selling?
So necessarily what equipment, we were more on the pain management side as far as that goes. So it's back when, you know, telemed was around, of course, and, you know, at that point, it was more with the, you know, scripts and the whole nine as far as that goes. So, you know, it was a good time, you know, temporarily, I guess you could say. You know, it was back when, you know, obviously, you know, if you're bringing on a doctor with a pharmacy as far as that goes on the telemed side, then it's obviously can be very beneficial, you know, when it comes to that. But just like anything else, you know, that not to get all into the politics side of things or nothing like that. But
it was a hustle.
Absolutely.
Like where if you're selling, you know, the big ass equipment, the $1 million equipment, that's working a lead for 3 years.
Yep.
And maybe you sell 1 or 2 a year.
Yep.
Which the patience, I don't know how anybody could deal with that.
Yeah.
And where a faster churn.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's a lot of different things when it comes to that. It's, you know, on the medical side, it's, you know, you deal with a lot of different things, you know, as far as that goes. Obviously, you know, HMO, PPO, in-network, out-of-network, the whole nine. And it can be beneficial, you know, and at one point it was very lucrative. Of course, it did do extremely well. And, but you can kind of see how things were changing, you know, on that side of things, of course, you know, a lot of different regulations were getting moved around past, you know, some things, obviously, just like anything else, you know, the government was not too fond of it in regards to what, you know, happens when it comes to, you know, insurance payouts, in-network, HMO, PPO, the whole nine, stuff like that. And we were able to see that shift, of course. And obviously that was you know, an opportunity, you know, kind of awaiting as well too. Cause that's when we were able to kind of take advantage. And I say we, cause my business partner, but that's when we started the medical imaging facility that's still out there and playing out right now. I'm not too hands-on when it comes to that, but that was my first business that I invested into. Medical imaging facility, pain management, did MRIs, CT scans, pain management, the whole nine. And try to really take that business, excuse me, and make it into something big as well too. But, you know, anyone in the medical field that has their own practice will be able to tell you like the pros and cons when it comes to having your own practice. Of course, you know, you just deal with a lot of different things. We end up going from, you know, having, you know, getting paid by insurance, of course, to going cash pay. You just having to deal with, once again, the whole networks and different insurances, Medicaid and the whole nine and stuff like that, waiting on payouts, the whole nine. So it was one of those businesses that I thought was going to really take me to the next level, but it was kind of honestly, it was kind of a nightmare, but it's just
what did you learn from it though?
I just learned that, you know, from back in the day, I learned a lot. I mean, in regards to that, cause, you know, we brought on, one of the doctors we brought on was actually a cardiologist as far as it goes. And I was able to see, not necessarily hear about a lot of different things in regards from like the horse's mouth when it comes to, you know, patient care, when it comes to money, you know, when it comes to patient care, which one comes first, you know, as far as it goes. And no doubt about it, I've heard obviously some horror stories, you know, I've heard some crazy things, of course, which is even another reason why, you know, if my mom or dad or family member comes to me and says, hey, I have to have surgery on my foot, or have to, like, you know, I'll ask why, and I'll ask what doctor is it, or ask what facility is it as far as it goes. Cause it's like, you know, back in the day, when I was young and a kid, you know, I personally looked at doctors as like, you know, like saviors, like gods as far as it goes. But what I've seen, you know, from being in the industry is, you know, you have your doctors that have their practice, you know, which is great, of course. And you have doctors that work for the hospital. And, you know, let's just say hospitals have a lot of power, you know, when it comes to those things. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, when I used to think that that doctors were the answer, you know, but you get a good inside look as far as like, you know, the practice, not the practice, but the hospital at the end of the day has to say so.
The system.
Exactly. So it's some pretty crazy things that I've seen and that I've heard, and obviously from talking to a good friend of mine that's a cardiologist, and from him telling me the different stories in regards to when, you know, this just could have been a patient that needed to change his diet up or switch this around or switch that around, to where the system told him that, you know, put 6 stents in him, you know, or do this or do this or do that. And it's happening. I mean, it still happens to this day, unfortunately, but, you know, it's just in regards to the fact to where, you know, look out for your loved ones, of course, and, you know, ask questions.
So where'd you go after that?
So where did I go after that? Oh, let's see. Medical, and then trying to see what business I started after that, because I don't want to skip over anything.
There's a bunch.
I know. Oh man, that's
well, skip over those, and then just what was the next one that you were passionate about?
So I'll just get to the I'll get to the Mackey Innovations business as far as it goes. And obviously I was doing something before that. I guess we could blame that on not having any food right now. What was I doing before my Mackey Innovations business?
Was it your online thing?
Online coaching. I've had that going, of course. And then what was I doing? Wow, I'm about to come back to that as far as it goes. So, so the Mackey Innovations business was a business to where honestly I had no idea in regards to that it would grow or it would become what it is, you know, now to this day. As far as that goes, it came from having a goal, me working with Josh Bryant, going from 800 pounds to 900 pounds. And when I would do these lifts, usually it came from me doing reps. You know, sometimes I would do 500 pounds for 10 or, you know, X amount of pounds for 8 reps, whatever the case is. I remember just buying these clamps over and over and over and over again. And they just never would stay. They would last about 2 or 3 weeks. And I say this all the time. I still need to go back and look at that guy that wrote this post, but it was a guy that left a message on one of my posts where the clamp had failed and the weight went all over the place. And he puts a message on my post, and he says, "Man, Joe, you've been having this problem for like the last 6 weeks. You should just make your own barbell clamp." And I said, "Wow, man, like it's a good idea." Like I didn't really think nothing of it. I didn't think of like, oh man, this could be a blah blah blah. This could be huge. I just thought of like, yeah, that would be cool to have, you know. And originally, when I thought of this, and I don't necessarily like procrastinate, because when I think of something, it's like, you know, being patient is like either being impatient. It's either a bad thing or a good thing. But, you know, when it's a good thing, it's in regards to like when I have something that I'm ready to pursue, like I go after it like pretty aggressively. So with this situation, I went to actually a buddy of mine that built cards for me. And I went and talked to him, and I told him about this idea that I had. And, you know, we talked about it. He said he can build it. He said he can do it, the whole nine. And we talked about it for a couple weeks, and really didn't get anything off the ground, or we kind of hit and miss and talked about it here and there and stuff like this. But it was still in the back of my mind in regards to, we need to get this product like going and stuff like that. So I got a message from a buddy of mine at the gym, literally probably about, 12, 13 days after I had talked to my buddy about this product that I wanted to do from the car shop. And he texted me and he said, "Hey, I've been watching your videos." And I know who he was. He's a friend of mine from the gym. And I already knew he was an engineer as well too. And he texted me and he said, "Hey, I've been watching your videos." And he says, "I want to talk to you." He said, "I have this great idea and I think we should go to business together and create like the world's strongest barbell clamp." And I looked at it and I was like, "Man, this is crazy. Like, I've already been thinking about this for like the last 2 weeks. And now you're texting me about this." And I didn't tell him that. I was just like, "Yeah, let's talk about it." And he's like, "When?" I said, "Tomorrow." And we met at the gym the next day. And you know how engineers are. They're, you know, it's not like,
Yeah.
you know, we sit down, I'm talking about a whole folder worth of drawings, designs, sketches, numbers. You know, he's laying it all out for me. And, his background, he worked at Halliburton for many years. So I was just starstruck in regards to the type of, what I was seeing. And he says, "Man, if we can go on this journey together," he said, I'm confident that we can really create something together." And I shook his hand and I said, "Let's get started." And we got started on it. And that's a story that a lot of people don't know. Like, I think a lot of people saw the involvement, we call it the Mac clamp, of how it came out and started doing things. And obviously I was kind of my business partner's name is Ali. And to this day, he calls me, when things are happening, he calls me, my last name is Mackey, of course, but he calls me Joe Magic, because he's like, when you turn the magic on, like, I do his saying and stuff like that. But he gets that from the fact to where, every lift that I did, when it came to deadlifting or whatever the case is, it goes back to what we've been talking about. Always knew, didn't know the success of this product or whatever the case. I just knew that it had my name on it. And I believed in doing things the right way. I believed in, like, even when it comes to like cars and stuff, like anyone that knows me will say, Joe likes to be different, and if someone else is doing it, I don't want to do that. Like, if 10 people are doing it, I want to be the one person doing it this way, and be successful with it. So with this product, I knew obviously if we were going to call it, Mac Innovations, Mac Clamp, it has to do what it says it's going to do, okay, as far as it goes. And some people know this and a lot of people don't, but it took us try after try after try after try. And I still remember the first prototype we did with this product. I was getting it ready. We were getting it ready because I was doing a collaboration with Larry Wheels to meet him in California just to do a video, deadlifts, the whole nine. And I took the product down there. We did everything we could to get this prototype ready. Back then, it was bigger, it was bulkier. Actually had 3 handles going around it, and it had different contact patches inside of it. And and I remember being down there, and primarily, of course, it was to do the weight. I think I was doing like 800 pounds, like, because then I had switched over coaches temporarily. I had talked to Josh about it. I was working with Gaglione Strength for a little bit. And so he had me doing like, I don't know, maybe like 6 sets of 800 singles. And we had the product on there, and I saw every time that we were doing a set, the weight was shifting. The product was not doing what it was supposed to do. So obviously that didn't make me very happy. I remember going out to eat with Larry afterwards, asking his idea and his opinion of the product. He wasn't a big fan of it, just in regards. And I agree with him, just due to the fact because back then it had 3 handles. It was way too technical, too difficult to tighten. You didn't know whether to go left or right with it, or whatever the case is. It was big, it was bulky. The price I told him we were going to sell it at was kind of, extreme as far as that goes as well too. And I remember going back home and I was just discouraged. I was unhappy. I go up to my guy, Ali, told him what happened. And, going back to the engineer talk, I told him, like, I actually asked him, I said, "Hey, why is this product not doing what it's supposed to do?" And, obviously comes with the, based off of calculations and this, and percentages and and everything. And I'm just like, Ali, like, just what is going on? And he's like, "Well, we can do this, and this." And, I told him at that point, I said, we have to take this third handle off. That's too difficult. And when it comes to the strength of this thing, like, what can we do to make it stronger? We talked about it. And he gave me the solution. And I asked him a question after he gave me the solution. I said, "Why aren't we doing it?" And he says, "I don't know, Joe." And I was like, Ali didn't do it. Like, come on, like, what are we doing? And we did it, and we fixed things. We taper things around, switch things around. And at that point, we tested it out again, and it's just been undeniable at that point. So we sent it in, obviously, to our maker, of course, and got our first prototype. And it's just been like a rocket ship after that in regards to like what that product has done. And obviously with what we're doing now, of course, with the partnership with Kabuki, we just had that happen not too long ago. And we're doing some really exciting things when it comes to that as well, too. So,
well, for those that don't understand, the problem that you're trying to solve is if you're doing high rep deadlifts, the plates falling off or the collar sliding out.
Yep.
And anybody that's done that has experienced this. I've had times where I put 2 collars on and then duct tape the shit out of them so it wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's 315 and it's all blocks, you get 20 reps.
Yep.
You know, it's all over the place.
100%.
You know, so your collar is keeping those plates from coming out.
100%. So, and that's something that we've had, you know, messages come in as like, they see me doing this weight with 800 plus pounds and 675 for reps, and message we got is like, oh, I'm not strong enough to use those clamps. And you know, it's like, you don't have to be strong.
It's actually worse with 315 or 405 because the reps are going to be higher, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And it's, and we've made our way with, in the powerlifting, because like you said, what you're doing, 220, even if you're doing 135, you know, even if it's a girl doing 185, whatever the case may be, you want something in there that's going to lock in a weight where the weight's not going to shift, you know, and that's what the problem we have created. Excuse me, the solution we created. Mentor of mine always told me, like, if you ever want to invent something, you know, you find a problem and then you know, create a solution to it, of course. And then once you create a solution to it, you got something good there. And that's what we did. I just didn't realize how big of a deal it was because, you know, obviously it's big in the powerlifting industry. It's big in the strongman industry. It's big in the CrossFit, obviously, from the snatch and jerk, the whole nine. It is a big problem, of course, and we've been able to create a solution to that. And, you know, if any of the criticism we've seen when it comes to the product, the mat clamp itself is obviously it's somewhat of what you call a high ticket item. They are $149, but we also market it as the last clamp you'll ever have to buy, because literally I've, you know, been using my clamps and the patches on them. We've been using the same clamp for going on, I don't know, 5 months now, and no issues. It hasn't weakened. It's still holding obviously the same amount of weight that I still do, 800 plus pounds for reps. It won't fail. And we've done some stupid things to try to get the stain to come off the bar, and it just will not. But we are now launching a new product, of course. It's the Kabuki Mac Lite with our new partnership with Kabuki, and we are now actually going to be a USA manufacturer with us partnering, of course. And that product is now in pre-launch right now, and it's a way better price in regards. It's not as strong as a Mac clamp, but it's definitely going to have the same activities and the same ability, and it's going to be as strong as anything, because our Mac clamp has the capacity to hold over 2,200 pounds of force, which no one's going to do that. Like I literally feel like NASA or somebody's going to end up figuring out something to do with this product or something like that. It's literally, I'm not gonna say it's overkill, but it's pretty damn strong. The Mac Lite, the Kabuki Mac Lite, is going to be not over 2,000 pounds, but it's still going to be stronger than anything else that's on the market. I won't say their names, but the competitors, as far as it goes, like, we're still going to be beating them out in regards to the type of force that it can handle.
Elite FTS was founded in 1998 with the aim to live, learn, and pass on. We've done this through training-related content that allows you to become the strongest athlete and coach that you can. Over the past 2 decades, actually 2.5 decades, we've published more complementary training media than anybody else in the industry. When you look at the number of articles, the Q&As, the blogs, the videos, the podcasts, there's over 1 million pages of content that we've put out there. We've been able to do this through your support of Elite FTS. So when you purchased Elite FTS strength equipment, bands, accessories, gear, apparel, or anything through the site, you directly help support the content that we put out, which in turn helps support other people on their journey of becoming stronger and better coaches. So stronger athletes and better coaches, which encompasses the aim and the vision to live, learn, and pass on. So I thank you for the support that you've been giving for the past 25 years and encourage you to keep supporting Elite FTS into the future so we can all help more people become better and stronger. Discount code Table Talk for 10% off your first order. All right, guys, if you like the Table Talk podcast, then you're going to love the crew. If you're struggling with trying to get through a sticking point, you're trying to figure some specific aspect of your training out that you just can't dial in, you're dealing with injuries, you're trying to figure out how to better optimize your training, all the stuff you're seeing on social media is confusing, and all you need is a little guidance and support, or just somebody to look at your lifts to make sure that they're either heading in the right direction, or if there's a weak point in the lift, they can point out what that weak point is. Well, that's what we have the crew for. So when you join the crew, you get an extra Table Talk podcast each month called the Crewcast. You also get access to our Discord community, which has a training Q&A, form checks with top coaches, mindset section, nutrition, training logs, programs, over 30 ebooks, plus exclusive ebooks just for the crew, webinars, lectures, seminars, giveaways ranging from full strength equipment. We've given away many yoke bars this year. We've given away actually pieces of strength equipment as well as accessory items, and you get exclusive crew discounts. So go to the link in the description that says join the crew, click it, join now, and start getting stronger today. All right, guys, we've got a new limited edition drop, the original Mountain Dog tee that John Meadows had us design from the very beginning. So it's the first tee that he had made. Once again, this is a limited edition item, so when they're gone, they're gone. While I have your attention, you've seen me wear this one in a few podcasts to date. We've been holding back on it. This here, the 4-star tee, I think that's what we call it. It's on the website. New items, also under limited edition. Check out our shoulder saver pads. It's an easy way to do limited restricted range of motion exercises like board press that basically you just pop the pad on the bar, reduces the range of motion, pop it back off when you're done. Thank you guys for the support. Head over to elitefts.com.
Been following Elite FTS for at very least 6-7 years. This event, I PR'd my bench by 100 pounds. I actually got to try gear for the very first time ever. I got over 150, almost 150 pound carryover with gear for the very first time. It was just amazing. You're never gonna get that experience anywhere else. I mean, nobody has a whole rack full of extra gear to be able to try. It's just unbelievable. I joined the Discord server just because of all the information that's out there, all the different form checks, all the ebooks. There's even giveaways on it. They give away different blemish bars and the knowledge. I mean, I'm never around anybody that really likes to talk training for hours and hours and hours on end. This event is absolutely chock full of people that want to do nothing but talk training. It is the most amazing event I've ever been to.
All right, we're going to switch directions here a little bit. Before we started the podcast, you mentioned something briefly, and we were like, oh, well, wait, we don't want to talk about that right now. But how have you seen gym culture change since you've been in gyms? Because you don't have a private gym, you don't have your own gym. So you're at the liberty of training in different places. So, and have always been. So I've always been in private places. My whole life, it's always been private. That's awesome. I've seen changes there, but not as radical as what others have seen. So what are the things that you've seen?
Well, I can just say this. You and I, we haven't known each other for the longest, but I can look at you and say that you would probably end up wringing someone's neck, in regards to being around some of the stuff. Cause it's like, it's quite unique. But, when I was coming up, I remember Johnny Jackson, Branch Warren, Ronnie Coleman, those guys were in their prime. And I used to know, I knew that they trained at Metroflex Arlington. And I also knew they trained at Stroud's Fitness on Saturdays, on the weekends as well too. So when I was young, I would try to go up there. And I still remember the first time I saw Johnny Jackson and Branch at Stroud's. And I stayed out the way. Like I looked from a distance. I looked for the perfect opportunity to talk to them when they weren't, training. Obviously, they trained with high intensity. And I still remember the first time I talked to Johnny, and it was like, excuse me, sir, and can I get your autograph? Can I get a picture? And the whole nine, and just polite, like, in regards. I didn't, now it's I'll just do like an illustration in regards to what it is now, as far as like if I was I'm not gonna say every kid or young adult in this generation, but just from what I've seen. But I didn't walk up to them and say, hey bruh, or hey dude, or hey it's not even bro, it's bruh, like BRUH. And or I wasn't over there while they were training and picking up weights in front of them with my shirt off, or trying to flex, or like, and like, this is not sarcasm. Like, this happens literally, and I do not understand it in regards to, and I'm going to say some of the gym etiquette in regards to as far as the stuff that you see in the gym is like we're, I guess somewhat maybe I'm old school now, or whatever the case is. I guess maybe I'm in that millennium as far as that goes, but it's like, we're not there to compete with other people, especially not kids, so I've had it many times to where, I've had guys, buddies of mine, come up to the gym and say like, man, do you see this kid like that keeps, sizing you up, or that keeps doing this? I was like, dude, I thought it was literally just me, but I guess
sizing you up.
It happens. Trust me.
What does that mean?
I mean, just
out angling you on a.
No, not necessarily out angle. It's just like, we call it just doing the most. Like, if I'm on a bench, doing chest press or whatever the case is, I've had this happen many times to where, I've had it where they will come right in front of me, or literally right beside me, or within touching distance, if I could reach my arm out, just to come and curl and then take their shirt off, and I'm just looking at them like, like, what are you doing? And it's like, this is not made up stuff. This happens all the time in regards to that. And what I'm saying to that is, like, back in the day when I saw, guys like Branch, Johnny, Ronnie, or whatever the case is, I wouldn't even want to get in their way, because if they're lifting or with their workout partner or whatever the case is, like, I'm not saying I want to be as far away from them as I can, but I want to respect their space.
Yeah.
In other words, and I don't want to put it out there and say like, hey, if you're a young kid, you need to approach me by saying sir, or you don't need to be in my area or nothing like that. I'm just saying there's a certain thing called gym etiquette as far as that goes. And you don't see it a lot. Now, I've even had it where I went up on a machine. I remember last time I had this situation happen, I was going to go do some abs, and I had this kid, and this kind of find out this kid was 19 years old. And when I'm about to start to do abs, he comes up to me and he says, hey man, I'm still working there. And it's just the way it's said, it's like, when I was young, I wouldn't walk up to another grown man and say, hey man, I'm working there. There's a way to talk. There's a way to communicate. Even if I see a young adult that's doing a machine now, I'll still talk to you a certain type of way. Me personally, I don't necessarily, and maybe it's just me, but I don't like being called man. Like, hey man, it's like, because then you just get a different,
or bro.
Exactly.
It's like you have a brother, by
right? It's like, it's just like anywhere. It's like, it's even, I guess maybe it's like, because I'm big on customer service, but not saying like you're saying gym etiquette requires you to have good customer service with me. It's just like, just good communication. I mentor my nephew a lot, and I had to switch a lot of things that he says around, because I told him, not in regards to me as your uncle or you talking to family, but stop saying these stupid words. That's what's up, or already, or there's some other ones out there as well too, to where I'm just like, if you say that shit one more time, like that, just, it sounds stupid. It sounds ignorant. I had a young cousin of mine that sent me a message not so long ago, and he sends me a message. He said, hey man, what's up? Like, send me your number when you can. And like, this is a little cousin of mine. When I was 16, he was 8, and I'm getting a message from him that says, "Hey man, like, no, actually he said, hey man, like, what it do?" or something like that. And send me your number when you can. I read it and I'm just like, I'm not even going to respond to this. Like, you know, cause it's like, you know, whether you're in the gym, whether you're in a professional environment, whether you're talking to a family member, or even if you're talking to friends, like, first of all, like, carry yourself like a professional, you know, you can. You're never going to see me out and about, you know, saying, you know, or come up to you and say, like, what it do, or that's what's up, or, you know, I don't know, there's some other ones out there as far as there's some new terminology out there as far as it goes. But it's very simple just to talk normal and obviously carry yourself like a, you know, a professional. It's not saying yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, whatever the case is. But, you know, it's just one of those things. But back to the story with the gym. Yeah, this kid came up to me and says, hey, man, like, you know, I'm still using that. And it was just like him saying that it just kind of triggered me. And I just responded back with, okay, like, I'm going to work in with you. And he's like, no, you're not. And it went pretty south really quick as far as it goes. Nothing ended up happening in regards to any type of physical things. But this kid, you know, ended up getting loud in regards to saying, hey, just because you're Joe Mackey, like, that doesn't mean you come over here, take my effing machine and stuff like that. And it literally was like one of those moments I was looking around to where it's like, is this really happening? You know, and I think we've all seen videos of this on YouTube and stuff like this, and these things happen and stuff like that. Yeah, I've had it happen to me a couple times. And I just couldn't imagine like ever, you know, approaching or having those things happen when I was young. Because first of all, my dad would slap the shit out of me because obviously he raised me to be respectful, of course. And I just knew better, you know, not to, you know, approach people or in any situation in a certain type of way. And that's not even how I do things now as a grown adult. So it's like, I don't get it. So yeah, gym etiquette now is just, that's just one of the many different things that I see, you know, in regards to how this generation is now compared to the way it was back then.
What about training partners?
I don't even start on that as far as that goes. So no, it's, you know, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, it's a small amount of people that want to train hard these days. And and I'm talking about 1%, you know, when it comes to that. A lot of people can talk when it comes to wanting to achieve this, wanting to do that, but it is not the same as far as that goes. And I say that because, you know, I still remember, and this is after Branch and Johnny were retired. I remember them invited me to work out with them, and I went to go work out with them. It was a back day, and that was the hardest fucking workout I've ever done in my life when it comes to that. And this is, you know, this is not talking about when they were in their prime. I think Johnny was getting ready for his last show. Branch was, you know, he still trains hard now, but not like he used to back in the day. But I told myself, like, man, I can only imagine how they train in their prime. And I remember training with them that day, and we trained every single week after that as far as it goes. But it's like, I loved it. What I've seen now is when it comes to workout partner, I might have one for a week, two. But you know what? It also comes down, because I've had some good workout partners, no doubt about it. But it has to be, like I said, that small percentage of a person that's right there with you mentally, to where it's like, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you. Like, I know you're just as crazy as I am when it comes down to it, or whatever the case is, to where if I say, let's do this, you know, you're like, let's do it. You're not whining. You're not upset about it or anything like that. If you say, let's do this, I got 2 words that I use. Even when I don't feel like doing it, I got 2 words. If someone says, let's do another set, fuck it. So that's, you know, you're not gonna ever get me to, you know, whine about anything or be like, oh gosh, or anything like that. Cause it's like, I don't believe in that, but it's a whole nother, you know, it's a whole nother thing when it comes to, like, you know, where we are when it comes to this generation, and in a lot of different ways, you know, when it comes to that. So it's pretty crazy for sure.
Now, when you were doing some of John's programming, did you ever get to the point where it's like, are we done with this fucking exercise yet?
No, because, you know,
3 warm-up sets and 6 work sets. It's like, you know, I'm bored, dude.
Yeah. You know, the thing with John that I like with his programs, John's John's a very smart guy, very intelligent, obviously. And I'm curious if he ever did this to, from a mental perspective or not, because obviously John, like you said, would have the warm-ups on there, do this, and then once you get here, that's when the fun starts. And it's like, and I loved it as far as it goes. And then he would also put in there, for example, I did XYZ to give you an idea where he was at. And you could take that two different ways. You could say, well, John did this. Either, John's stronger than I am, so I'm going to do something lighter. Or, because he would, put in there to where, all right, you're going to do this, and then after this, you're going to walk over to the leg press and do 3 sets of 30 with a good weight on leg press, as far as it goes. I personally did, 6 plates per side. So I would read that and think, okay, John did 6 plates per side. As you know, I wasn't powerlifting at that point or going for PRs, but I think it's just the craziness maybe that comes out to where I see it as, if he could do it, I could do it. And if he could do it with this, I'm going to try to go for more as far as that goes. And that's the way it always was when it came to those programs. Now, sometimes I didn't achieve it, no doubt about it, because if he said I did 6 and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to do. And sometimes I would try to do stupid stuff. Like if he did 6 plates per side, I'm like, I'm going to try to do 10 plates per side. And it's not to say I couldn't do it, but it was one of the situations where it's like, the movement would require him to say like, make sure you don't use a spotter, or make sure you don't use this, or make sure you don't. And then I would, get to a certain amount of reps and I would have to finish those last 6 with a certain type of weight or something like that. But, I enjoyed it because for one, it gave structure. The workouts were and on top of that, it's like, it seemed like there was always a reason why you did certain things in a certain direction that you did them. Cause it's like, you would read a workout and you would think, that ain't nothing.
Yeah.
And then you would do it and it's like, man, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So it's like timing of stuff, like, doing this before this, before this, before this, before this, before this. And then we get to that movement, then it's like, man, like there must be some type of science behind this. Is something I would think when it comes to some of those movements, because this shit would hurt, man. So
he used a lot of intensification methods in his training, whereas Josh doesn't use as many as those.
Right.
Did you miss having those, or was Josh's, because Josh is also higher volume too,
right?
Or was the volume enough to balance that out? No,
it's two different styles, 100%.
Yeah.
John, his programs, and I've had a lot of them. Program 7, 10, 15. I still have them on my phone right now, and I still use them to this day. It was they're 2 different models. Like I said, Josh is Josh has a certain amount of volume, but I wouldn't say it equates to the type that John does when it comes to his programs. And like I said, when it comes to John and Mountain Dog training, it's just what I enjoyed was the intensity that you leveled up week after week after week. I don't know if anyone else did it, but it's like, you would get a 12 or 15 week program, and then I would look at week 1, and then I would go look at week 15 or 13 and see what those workouts look like. And I could just get, man, my goodness, like you're really taking me back to some places now to where it's like, man, some of those workouts, and obviously I'm talking about legs, to where it was like, oh man, like, cause I used to have buddies that worked out with me and they thought in regards to like, man, where are you getting these workouts from, or whatever the case is. And, and one thing that I used to do is I personally train legs on Monday. I used to train with a group of guys and train them on legs on Saturday. And I always knew if I was going to do this workout on Monday, I needed to do it myself to be able to put my guys through it on Saturday. And it was rough. And every time I saw them on Saturday, they would look at me and say, they would ask how hard this workout gonna be. I said, dude, y'all are gonna fucking die. Like seriously, this workout kicked my ass. I think the worst, I'm not gonna say worst, because it's like you
was best and worst, right?
Exactly. It's like that level of crazy. It's like You know, it's like, yes, the worse it is, the better it is. But the highest one was, I would say it's like on hack squats. I want to say it's like that triple drop set on hacks, I believe. I want to say it's like when you have already done 4 sets with a good working weight, and then on the last set, I'm saying it a lot easier than what it really was, but I know it was a top set, then a drop set, then a drop set, then maybe one more drop set, and then an all out failure or something like that in that regards. But something like that, man. It was like, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, man, like you had to go to a place when it comes to those type of movements for sure.
A lot of those earlier programs he was building as he was doing it.
Man.
Right.
Yeah.
So he would do that training session on Saturday, then he would log it, then that would just become part of whatever his next program is.
Yep.
And I remember a couple of those, he's like, man, I can't put all this in there. You know, so some of those he had to dial back.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. And then some of them were cut off.
Yep.
Right. Where he'd always have like a little Post-it note.
Yep.
Where he'd write it all down.
Right.
And that was kind of what he'd work off of. And then I'd be looking at that thing the whole time, you know, because I'm coming from a powerlifting world. Like, it's fuck, after one work set, it's like, are we done with this yet? You know, and it's like, fuck, there's 6 of them.
Yeah.
And then exactly. We'd be halfway through it and, all right, we're done. I'm like, thank God. You know, but you never knew. I mean, that was the other, like, even with the working set, you never knew. It was like seated leg curls for infinity.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember that.
Spend 45 minutes, dude.
Yeah. You be all in there. Now, I actually have to ask you a question. Did you ever do any workout to where you threw your hands up and you're like, that's it?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't give him that satisfaction. You know, so that was a big part of it too. But over the few years that we were training, that all scaled, you know, so if you got some of you said 7, so you get some of the original ones, they were never even published. You know, it was just whatever he'd put together in a PDF file and sent out. I don't think he sold any of those things, but it would scale up. And I remember him telling me he wanted to scale this to a point that if anybody came out to train with him, so if you were to come out to visit or quad or anybody was to come out, they would die.
Oh man.
They would either throw up or die.
Right.
And I'm like, sounds good to me, you know, whatever. You know, we'll just do that. But the other side of my brain, I'm like, this probably isn't good, you know, for them to do that. You know, come out here and just get fucking crushed, especially when you don't tell them. It took 2 years to build the work capacity to get there.
Right.
With Josh's training, it leans more into building more strength. Yeah. You know, John wasn't into building more strength at all, you know, so that's where the difference is. Oh yeah. Because I don't think you can do all those intensification methods.
No, it's no way.
And get stronger.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's no way, because it's and I agree with you, like what you said, because Josh's program worked very effectively in regards to getting from, you know, this power level to this power level as far as that goes. But it didn't necessarily require, you know, I wasn't always toast, you know, after a workout. John's programs, no doubt about it, after a heavy, not even necessarily heavy, after a movement, I'm counting the next movements of how many are left and thinking, all right, it's only 2 more movements left, you know, after this, as far as it goes. So, and, but it was, John's medals are just his volume and his attention as far as it goes. That was just a whole nother level.
How did your training change as you would start preparing for a show?
I mean, drastically in regards to the hardness, the muscle maturity that came from it. And it's crazy too, because it's like, I remember, you know, a season to where I was not doing those, that style training, and the type of muscle maturity that I mean, you say muscle maturity, the type of, level of tissue that wasn't there compared to when it was there when I was doing mountain dog training was night and day difference as far as it goes. And I remember,
what do you mean?
Just in regards to the fact that when I was doing mountain dog style training, like the type of muscularity that my body was presenting was up there. You know, when I was not doing it and I was kind of doing some more general basic type of moves and stuff like that, that level of muscularity was not there. And I remember trying to go back and add it back in, let's say 6 weeks out, and obviously it wasn't enough time as far as it goes. But that's why any type of prep that I've ever done, I still go back to mountain dog training, when it comes to that. And and it's almost one of those things where if you've done mountain dog style training, to where if you look at other programs, which I haven't worked out with every coach, of course, but compared to a lot of different coaches I've worked out with, it's like, considering the fact that I've done all these different programs with metals training as far as that goes, it literally kind of, I'm not gonna say simplifies, but it's John Meadows' programs were a little bit over, I'm not gonna say over the edge, but they were as they were pretty high intensity as far as it goes. So
do you lower your cardio while you're doing that?
Now, last time I did the John Meadows program, I mean, that's actually a good question as far as it goes, because I was just doing it based off what my coach saw at that point.
I'm kind of asking that because the volume's higher.
Yeah.
So you're burning more calories during the training.
Yeah. I do recall that when I've done John Meadows style training, my body's always been one of the ones to where it based off the training, it adapts to more food in regards to that. So I do recall having to add in more food, I can tell you that. And, I've kind of had one of those physiques to where it's like, the more food that I give my body, because, I train heavy with high intensity. And obviously that's a big part of in regards to John's training program as far as it goes. And that's even another part as well, too, because obviously, like I said, if he says, we're going to do this, this, and this, and I did this, then I'm still, I've developed the fact to where it's like, I do know my power is up there as far as it goes, so I'll still try to push the envelope, even if it says just, don't kill yourself and do this weight. I did this weight. I'll still try to do more as far as it goes. But it's always worked to my benefit when it comes to that as well, too, because, then my body enjoys it. Because my body enjoys the food and my body enjoys the high volume with the heavy weight, and we kind of feed off of that. And obviously, last coach I've had, where it comes to that, to where it's like, he's noticed as well, too, to where it's like, man, your body does like, the high intensity training, the high volume, and we got to give him more food.
So how do you regulate if you're pulling heavy, right? And that's on your back day.
Yep.
And if it's really heavy,
you're right,
then you're not going to be able to do as many accessories after. So do you peel those out based upon how you feel after the pulls, or do you just say, fuck it, I'm going to do them anyhow? So
if I'm prepping on the bodybuilding side, the pulling heavy is not even there anymore. Yeah, because I think the most I pulled during our bodybuilding prep is 800 pounds, and I haven't ever gone any heavier than that. And even when it comes to the deadlifts, it's not even. I think I did that just because it wasn't even part of my program. I wanted to do it because. Obviously I'm not an Olympian. I'm not Ronnie Coleman or nothing like that in that regards, but I got motivated to do it because I was like, I think it was like 4 weeks out from a show. My strength was up. It's pretty lean. And I wanted to see if I could do what Ronnie did back in the day, when he announced, obviously, Ronnie's a hell legend, Olympian. And like I said, I never would compare to him, but I wanted to do it just to see if I could do it to where I was in bodybuilding shape 4 weeks out, to see if I could still rep out 800 pounds, and I was still able to do it. So I was just happy about that. But I don't even focus on pulling. I don't do any type of deadlift program when I'm prepping for a show whatsoever. I might add them in there, I might not, but it's not even relevant at that point.
So then that is a deadlift on a back day or a leg day?
It's on a back day.
All right. Well,
yeah,
so
but it's more
obviously there's more exercises going to be done on that day.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's more even towards, rack pulls, or something like that. It might have deadlifts on there, but it's not in anything in regards to nowhere even get close to no 800 pounds or anything like that.
So how much do you auto-regulate the training that's being sent to you?
In regards to the
based making decisions in the gym while you're training.
Talking about like right now?
Yeah, now or even in the past couple of years. So if Josh sends you something, here's what's on the day.
Right.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say what he sends for that day isn't exactly what's going to be done in that day because something doesn't feel right or it's not activating the way you want. So you'll pivot around.
For the most part, I mean, so the way I do that is like, it's either John that's sending me it's either Josh that's sending me my workouts or or Milo's coaching me. Milo's obviously is my coach for bodybuilding. If I'm on this Josh platform, it's we're going for strict power, and Josh is sending me on more workouts for 2 days out the week, which is the leg and the back heavy as far as it goes. I'm on my own when it comes to chest, shoulders, arms, stuff like that. And when Josh sends me my workouts, like he's gotten my ass many times. I'll post something on social media that I don't know, I did this amount of weight for this, and he'll text me like, hey, what are you doing? Stay with the program. He's only told me twice. Second time I got it, and I stopped veering away from what he told me to do. That is what I have realized too, is where you always listen to your coach as well too, especially when you're doing something on a power level. Program is everything. Even if you're feeling good, do it. And there's been times where I felt, I'm not gonna say, there's never really been a program to where you sent me to where I felt off or I didn't feel like I could do it or whatever the case is. There's been some things to where he sent me and I missed it. And I realized I missed it, and based off of, something that I wasn't doing in regards to didn't get enough rest or something like that, or that regards. But if I'm prepping for a bodybuilding show, like I'm obviously vocal when it comes to Josh about that and let him know like, hey, I'm getting ready for this show. As far as that goes, we'll catch back up next year or 8 months from now or something like that in that regard. So it's kind of taking a break from Josh, then going over to my bodybuilding side. And what I do on a personal level when it comes to that is like, if I feel like doing something stupid, because I got a little rage or animosity in me or some, whatever the case is, I want to go heavy, then, so those two words will come out fucking, and I'll say, all right, let's do this,
So when you're on your own, how do you determine you have whatever your split is? Mm-hmm. So is it a bro split, like each body part once a week, or is it each body part twice a week?
Yep.
So if it's once a week, how do you determine what you're going to do for your chest, or you just determine that when you go in?
I've worked with so many. Yes, it is one body part. Legs is Monday, chest is Tuesday, shoulders is Wednesday, Thursday off, Friday's back, Saturday it's hamstrings, light hamstring as far as that goes. Kind of like overall leg focus, and then start back over next following Monday. But I incorporate so many of the knowledge that I've been able to get from every coach I've been with over the last handful of years that I've been in this industry. It was just from the power side or bodybuilding side. I may have worked with, starting off obviously John Meadows. I've worked with Dennis James. I've worked with Milos. I've worked with I'm forgetting a handful of them as far as that goes, but I've always worked with someone that I've wanted to learn from, because based off of their history or based off their look or just based off them being crazy and seeing their physique and knowing that I wanted to get their knowledge as well too, because I always looked at everything when it came to that type of stuff as an investment of knowledge, when it comes to that stuff. And obviously even when it came down to training with Branch and Johnny for a number of, months when it came to getting ready for that show, I wanted to train with them because it's like, I knew their intensity was up there, and obviously no matter what you say in regards to, train like this, train like that, whatever the case is, when I trained with them, I grew my body responded, and I still remember doing the first back day with them, and it's the first back workout I ever did where I felt like I had to throw up. I've never felt like I had to throw up on a back workout besides training with them that day. But so when I train now, it's literally like a mixture of everything. Just, it's so, my brain on so many different levels doesn't turn off. So especially when I get to the gym, it's like just, have an idea. I don't write things down. I don't have a journal or anything like that, but it's like, I know for the most part what movement I'm going to do next. Even when I'm at a particular movement as far as it goes, I know how I'm going to do it. I know if I'm going to do a 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up. I know if I'm going to do a 2 second hold at the bottom or whatever the case is. So it's like, I'm switching things up as much as I can. And honestly, every time I go to the gym, I'm training hard. There's not really, unless I'm not feeling well or something like that, but there's not really a workout session that I do to where it's like, I go in there and think, no, I'm just going to take it easy today.
How do you decide when to move to the next movement?
When I have, because I already have an idea as far as what I'm going to do per movement. So if I'm doing, chest press, I even know that I'm either going to get to a weight to where it's a working set, kind of like what John used to do, get to a good weight. stop there, do 4 sets of 8 with it, 2-second squeeze at the top, or I know I'm going to keep going up until I get to a top set. And once I get to a top set, I better get 8. Or if I don't get 8, then I'm going to do 2 drop sets after this. And on the last drop set, I'm a superset it with push-ups. So basically the way I know when I'm done with every movement, it's like, it's almost like, it's almost like turn on that CNS, in other words. Like even after the first movement, I'm already drenched in sweat. Things are already activated. Things are already turned on, you know, because after I warm up, when I get to that first movement, that literally like, it's the way I look at that, it sets the tone for the rest of your workout, you know, and, you know, whether I'm doing legs or chest or shoulders or back or whatever the case is, like I want to go to a good compound movement that's really going to like activate and turn things on and really set the tone for like the rest of my workout.
Then when do you decide that that body part's done?
Cause I already have an idea of exactly what I'm gonna do per body part. Same thing with chest, same thing with back, same thing with legs as far as that goes. Like, you know, chest, same thing. I focus on working every part of my chest out. You know, I'll either start with incline or flat, or if I start with flat, then I go incline to a different incline after that, of course. Decline, of course, flies, you know, activating the chest in a whole different way after that in regards to whether I'm doing stretch push-ups. Obviously learned that from John as well too with the dumbbells, doing some band work. And I always have an idea in regards to every body part that I'm gonna do. Cause I don't do it based off how I feel. I already know exactly what I'm gonna do every single time I go to the gym. I don't, even if I get to the next to last movement to where I say, man, I'm burnt out. Like I already committed mentally as far as like what I was going to do. So it's like, you know, I do it. I don't think I've ever honestly done that day in my life to where it's like, oh man, I was supposed to do one more movement, but it's like, I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I don't like doing that. Cause it's like, even doing something like that, I see it as like a failure when it comes to a workout. So anything that I already have my mind set at that I'm gonna do, then that's what it is every single time.
And then with each repetition that you're doing, what is the intent? You know, I get it. It can change per exercise. Yep. But I call it, you can either muscle fuck the weight up. Yeah. Right, or you can use more control. I think that's, it goes hand in hand with kind of like what I was saying in regards to like if I'm going for kind of like dumbbell chest press. If I make my mind up that I'm going to do 200-pound dumbbells today, you know, obviously every set is controlled, squeeze, the whole 9, of course. But if I say that I'm going to stop at the 150s and let's say this is a deload week, and instead of going up to the 200 pounds and doing 8 reps with that, I'm going to do 4 sets of 12 with the 150s. And with each, with each set, you know, I'm going to do a 1 second hold at the top and a 1 second squeeze at the top. So I already have an idea as far as like how I'm going to move the weight and basically how I'm going to perform each rep, each set as well too. Based on, cause I do that every time. Either one week, and it's for every body part, is a extremely heavy week, and then the next week is a deload week. But deload week does not mean taking it easy or going light. It just means I'm doing about 70 to 75% of my workload compared to what I would do on a heavy week. Will you adjust the tempo on the deload week? Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Cause, you know, deload week is, it doesn't require that same type of mindset somewhat. It's more, and obviously no doubt about it, you should, of course, be focused on activating the muscle with everything that you do. But of course, if I'm doing 4 sets of 10 with the 150s and I'm doing an all out, max effort set with the 200s or something like that, then, you know, cause even on top of that, then I'm also going to do a couple drop sets after that as well too, because repping out 200s compared to doing sets with 150s is 2 different things, of course, you know, and I'm still sore from each one of them, no doubt about it. But if I was to focus on, you know, doing the 200s and focus on doing a 2 second hold at the bottom with 200s, probably not going to happen. But obviously I could do that with the 150s and it could just obviously activate the same amount of muscle tissue that it would with the 200s as well too. Which out of those 2, which ones do you think you get the most out of? I would say, honestly, the heavy. I would say, cause it's like my body, from what I've seen, it's, you know, cause I see a big part of it's like, you know, turning on that CNS as a big part of growth. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact of, you know, I've heard this for years to where it's like, you know, obviously someone can see me in person. They're just like, man, like you're way bigger in person. And it's like, I used to not understand why people said that until you actually get a reflection of yourself walking around and being with other people and stuff like that. And you see it as well too, because it's like, you know,
lifting heavy weight, does create a whole different look. I don't know if it does something to the bones or what, or whatever the case is, but, you can definitely tell a person, because I've seen this well too. I've seen guys to where it's like, you could tell there's some elite lifters, and you can just tell their structure, they're built differently, and hell, I know you've seen it yourself as far as these yourself as well too, but just some of these guys that, heavy weight to them sometimes isn't heavy to them just because the way their frame is or their body is or whatever the case is. But you can tell, I mean, this is kind of a way different perspective, but it's just like when I met Thor, at the Olympia, I've never felt like a little kid, but obviously being around him and 7 foot something tall and close to 400 something pounds, it's nothing you can take in this world to get that damn big. He's just built differently, of course, but it makes sense on why he's able to lift the type of weight he's able to lift. I've never met Eddie Hall in person or nothing like that, but I'm sure he's a similar type of guy. But I did meet Sean, what's the guy's name? Sean does a strong man. Tall, big guy,
Brian Shaw.
Yeah. So I met those two out there, and they're, like I said, those are just two different types of powerhouse. But it's just you think you're big until you, like I said, you get around someone that not only is just a big guy, but they can toss weight up like that. It's just a whole different level.
At what point did you change your nutrition philosophy from just pounding hot dogs and whatever you could put in to more structured?
It's when I came home from college. Yeah, because I came from college. I was weighing 250 something pounds, and I was big, but I was more bulky, I guess you could say. And then obviously when I was back home, I met the guys from my gym that taught me about bodybuilding and suggested that I get into bodybuilding. And even when I started my first program, first cycle and stuff like that, I was still eating pretty crappy. But that's back to the day when I got back into doing my show. But I think we've all been there. I mean, obviously I've done dirty bulks, and I've ate whatever, and the point to where it got to a point to where I was like, man, I don't want to eat dirty. I don't want to bulk up. I don't want to be 290 pounds, walking around at that weight or looking like this or whatever the case is. It's, it's, I don't know. I probably would say it's hard to put amount of years on it as far as that goes, but I got to a point to where it's like, I know what my weight is, where I like for it to be, and not in regards just to my look, but how I feel. Because obviously I've been 280 and 290 plus pounds in regards to the fact to where, sleep apnea, or just like the way I walk around now, it's like I can walk around and I can still feel light, but I'm not light because my strength and power is still there, but my size is still there. But I know once I get over a certain type of weight, or if I'm eating a certain type of way, my body just doesn't like it, and what I mean by that is just in regards to the fact of, how I sleep. I do have sleep apnea, when it comes to that. So I do have a machine as far as it goes. But when I'm like this, to where at a good point, I don't snore, or I don't have those sleep apnea issues. I can get on the I get on do a cardio, and I feel good doing it, and I'm not I'm not gasping for air, or whatever the case is. So it's just one of those things where it's like I've had this concept now when it comes to nutrition, to have it dialed in to a certain point now for I would probably say about the last 8-9 years now, honestly, to where, people will see me, they'll ask me all the time, like, hey, you getting ready for the show? It's like, no, man, I just like to keep a certain type of shape, of course, and if I want to turn it on for power, if I want to turn it on for bodybuilder, then I'm still within that rhythm to do either or, pretty much.
How will that fluctuate between big work days, low work days, because you're balancing other things in there? You're not full-time IFBB Pro.
You're right. Yep.
So shit happens.
Oh yeah.
So how do you make those pivots?
Yeah, that's a good question. So last week, I think I shared this, last week, 2 days in a row were really good days in regards to some moves that had took place on business. And I don't necessarily just skip meals when I get busy, but, if something great happens, like, I don't know what to feel. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's just adrenaline or whatever the case is, but I'm just not that hungry. I only ate one time that day. And then the next day, I was like, man, I need to get back on it. And then the next day, I ate twice. So
that's getting back on it. Well, I guess it's double, right?
I know, right? For sure. So it's like, you know, but it's one of those things where it does happen. I mean, because like you said, it's I'm not full-time bodybuilding, and you know, obviously not on the power side neither. And but you know, when I do feel like, you know, I do see that it happens, it's like I'm able to tell myself, like, and obviously you can feel it as well too. Like, you know, when you maintain a certain weight or look or whatever the case is, and then 1 or 2 days later your body just feels deflated, or it feels weak, or it feels like it's just lacking all nutrients, and it's not just based off of my look, it's based off how I feel, you know, because your body can get from to where you feel like you know, elite in a lot of different ways in regards to mentally, physically, as far as that goes. And then like nutrients are just a big part, not only just, you know, based off of how full I feel or what I look like, but, you know, it's how I, you know, what keeps these thinking up here, you know, my mindset, my mind, my mentality. So it's easy to really realize that, you know, I'm not in tune with a lot of different things, because that's another big part in regards to how center nutrients around is, you know, how effective I'm going to be, you know, how successful I'm going to be throughout the day as well too. Because I can really only get away with it for about 1 or 2. Not that I want to get away with it, but I can really only jeopardize not being on point with my nutrients for at least like 1 or 2 days at the most. Yeah.
Then it impacts
it impacts everything. Yeah, I mean, my thinking, how I move, you know, how, you know, I'm talking, I could have a business conversation, might start stuttering, and people looking at me like, what? Like, you okay? Like, so, but it's at that point to where I realize, like, yeah, I need to get back on my shit.
What are some of the things that you see the younger bodybuilders doing that you think they're screwing up? Because you said you do some mentoring as well. So what are some of the more common things that you're seeing?
That's real easy. Jumping on gear too soon. You know, and was it too soon or just period in general? Obviously, I can't say period because I obviously jumped under myself and became a pro bodybuilder. But, you know, there's some guys in the industry as far as that goes, of course. And I remember a buddy of mine sent me a page, this young gentleman, you know, that's obviously younger and, you know, saying, oh man, he's only X amount of years old and this, da-da-da, such. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not impressed by that, because it's like, obviously you can look at this young youth and yeah, they're 21 years old, but it's like, if any of us took the dosage that these 21 years are taking, or 19 year or 18, whatever, then of course we will look like that too. But we were taught, you know, I was taught that grow as much as you can naturally before you jump on anything, you know, and that's exactly what I did. Even when I came back home and I started something for the first time, those guys told me the same thing. You know, you need to grow a little bit more. You're only this amount old or whatever the case is. You need to grow, see what your body can max out naturally. And then if you decide you want to do that, then that's a great time to do it at this point. And I see even when I tell, you know, obviously even with the coaching, the whole nine, I've had clients that used to sign up with me and 18, 19-year-old kids and just say, hey, when can we talk about, you know, what cycle we can get on? I'm just like, dude, we're not. Like, you need to grow naturally. Like I was, you know, I think I was like 25, 26 years old as far as it goes, before I ever did anything, you know, when it comes to that. But you got kids now doing it. Hell, you got kids doing it in high school now.
I know, that's what's so interesting to me, because I wonder who's telling them that it's good, because everybody that I know who uses shit, by the way, would never tell somebody that young that that's a good idea. And maybe we look like hypocrites, but it's everybody's saying the same thing. So it's like, who's the fucking dealer that's running around saying, hey, you're 14, you need to be on tread?
Are they starting that early?
I have no idea, but
I was going to say, man, it's like, I haven't seen that yet, but it's like, I've seen it, and I've seen parents, you know, or fathers obviously talk to me about their son and, you know, and feel good about telling me, hell yeah, we started with this and this and this. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, man, like, you know, that never would have been my dad. My parents probably still now to this day still think I'm natural, but, you know, but they never would have been the type to push, you know, supplements on me. in high school, obviously just for me to be good in football or sports or whatever the case is, but you see it happening now, and that's why I just never can glorify anything, and you see it obviously in this industry, oh, look at this kid, 21 years old, look what he looks like already. I mean, so what? Like, he's taking the whole kitchen sink, or even if he's not taking the whole kitchen sink, like he's doing XYZ. I'm not going to glorify that, like, when he shouldn't be even doing that, like, right now, and he's not over 21 years old right now, so it's just something I can't understand. And, anyone who does push it or persuade it, I mean, to each their own, but it's not anything that's impressive. I mean, something that's impressive, it's kind of like what we talked about. Obviously, we talked about Jesus guy, 25-year-old power lifter, all natural. The guy's the world's strongest power lifter in the world. Obviously, he's a power lifter, but anyone who's ever do that on the power level or bodybuilder level, that's impressive. I mean, because that really shows some pure potential right there.
Oh, it's impressive if he was taking a ton of shit.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. 100%. So it's, young generation, it's luckily I don't see it too much in my gym in my hometown, but obviously you do see it all on social media. You do see it happening all over the world. You do see these young kids that are being glorified for it and stuff like that. And it's just something that I don't understand, don't agree with, of course, and something I'll never glorify. I'll never, I have a company. I'll never bring on an athlete of, someone who's young that I know that's doing all of this stuff and think, oh man, he's young and he looks like this, or he's this strong, but knowing that he's young and taking XYZ and glorify that. So it's just something that.
How much stuff do you see on social media that you think is actually real?
I mean, it's probably about, I don't know, maybe about 50. I mean, I guess it also depends too, in regards to like what caliber we're talking about, if we're talking about even on the fitness side or the lifestyle, or we're talking about, power side of things or whatever the case is. But, obviously that's a whole nother thing as far as that goes. Like, who does get glorified, with today's society, the things that do get the spotlight turned on it. Hey, and at the end of the day, to each his own. Like, I wish success for everybody as far as it goes, but it's really amazing, and not necessarily in a good way, to see the things that are uplifted, in regards to the things that are popular or whatever the case is. It's just not something that I understand. I mean, it's like, I was always raised to, we can go down this road of, when I say the saying of being a real man, obviously that can rise up a whole nother things when it comes to even how people, like, man, don't even, like, I'm sure we can both have some good conversations. I mean, even with all of this, how you identify yourself and,
Well, even with all that though, I wonder how much of that's actually real. Granted, I understand I live in a bubble.
Yeah.
But what I'll hear and what I'll see online isn't what I hear and see in the real world.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I asked, how much do you think is real? Because you got to take what you see in the real world,
yeah,
and then compare that what you see online.
Yeah, and
you live in a completely different state.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah. Hundreds of miles away.
Exactly.
And so the consensus I have on that is that most of what we see and hear is not real.
Right, for sure.
But
yep.
Again, I understand I live in a bubble, so I ask other people, like, what's it like in your bubble?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I mean, I agree with you as far as it goes, because it's like it's almost like I pay attention to a lot, and sometimes I don't. Kind of like I said, sometimes I feel like I'm in that bubble. As far as that goes, because it's like, with the things that, I think it's just really regards to like, energy as far as, cause it's like, I don't necessarily put my energy towards a lot of different things now to this day, when it comes to the things that, I see on social media or whatever the case is. Hell, sometimes if anything, sometimes I even try to break away from it, cause, these days it's just like I said, I just take things kind of with, I'm not gonna say necessarily a grain of salt, but it's just like, there's just so many misleading things out there in regards to that. And the things I focus on now are just the time and energy with the right people, in the right places as far as it goes. And it's like, you can't help but to see some things or hear about some things as far as that goes as well too. But I think it's like, you know, if someone's sending me something or I'm looking at this or see this or whatever the case is, it's like, honestly, sometimes I don't even give it any attention now or even type of thoughts, or don't even really, you know, kind of lead into it at all whatsoever. So, because there's just so much bullshit out there. Yeah.
How have you learned how to deal with the criticism?
Oh man, that's a good one. I remember before when I first got into this industry, I'm talking about when
it's a fucked up industry, because all they're going to do is point out where you're weak.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember going to my trainer when I won my first competition, and I don't think back then maybe Instagram wasn't as big, or maybe Instagram wasn't around back then. I think it was like MySpace or something. But YouTube was around, of course. And I remember some of my videos were out there, and I would go look at the comments. And I remember reading some of the comments, and my mouth just dropped. And I was just like, what are they talking about? Why are they talking so stupid and reckless and so negative? And I would personally go and click their name to see if I could find them, to see if they were local. and just to see if I could, you know, confront them, you know, go and ask them like, hey, I saw you wrote this, what's up? I remember going back to my trainer and just being in shock with the stuff I read. And he told me right then and there, you know, he's like, Joe, you better get used to it. Like, first of all, you can't go out and fight everyone, you know, because, you know, obviously the more successful you are, the more it's going to happen, man. And this is another big thing, of course, even like in today's life right now. Oh man, like it's, man, I guess if I could tell anything to someone who's going after their dreams and who's becoming successful and who's growing and stuff like that, when they say that road to success can be a lonely one, 100%, absolutely. When they say you better keep some people around you that, you know, I'm not even saying that necessarily believe in your success, but that really are, I'll even take it back. I remember my dad asked me when I was a kid, he's like, how many friends do you have? I was like, I don't know, maybe like 15, 20. He's like, no, you don't. And I said, yeah, I do. He's like, no, you don't. He said, you'll see when you grow up, he said, on who you can really call a genuine person, a genuine friend, because obviously, you know, and this is not negative, you know, but he was just basically telling me as a kid, like, everyone calls themselves your friend. It's not your friend. And obviously, once you grow and as you're building, or even whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, or whatever the case is, you just get an inside look as far as like, you know, and you really just have to be a mentally strong person, you know, because otherwise it's like these things that you see, or these things that you discover, or these things that happen to where it's like, man, like, why would this person say this? Or why would this person do this? Or I didn't do anything, or this happened or this happened. But it's like, I'm kind of skipping around, but it's like that's a really deep thing in regards to that. And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, because obviously you're wiser than I am. You've seen it, you've been around it as far as it goes, and you've built quite a plateau of success yourself. And you know, and I've seen it with every type of spectrum of anything that I've been in, whether it's on the business side, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's powerlifting. You know, we were just having that conversation in regards to that, to where I was telling you, like, I didn't realize this industry over here was like this. And it's like, I thought, you know, in this industry over here, it was like, man, everyone was holding hands and like patting each other on the back and saying, hey, let's go. But I got a reality check when it came to that on the power side of things, you know. And obviously I knew it was like that on the bodybuilder side. I mean, hell, you get criticized in bodybuilding, like, you'll find out things about yourself that, you know, I remember I used to hear things about myself to where it's like, really? Like, oh, Joe thinks this. Oh, do I really? I didn't know that, because I didn't say that, but I guess that's what, you know, someone's thoughts or impressions are. So, but it's you know, it really honestly even helped me think about and realize, and, you know, because even that's even a whole other topic as well too, to where we talk about, you know, men these days. Like, I personally, if I've ever had something to say to somebody, I would say it to them directly. If there was ever a problem, I would, you know, let them know, hey, can we have a talk? Can we have a discussion? Or whatever the case is. I've never had one person come up to me ever in my life and come up to me and say, hey, I need to talk to you. I'm just like, okay. And I've never had a person come up and say, I heard that you said XYZ, because I'm not like that. And if I have something to say, then I'm going to pull you to the side, or if there's something that's worthy to where we need to talk, then I'm going to let you know we need to talk about something, because I believe in having a sophisticated discussion, and I don't believe in going around behind his back, this back, or whatever the case is, and telling somebody how I feel just so I can get back to that next person. And then so at that point, I got somebody coming up to me and saying, hey, I heard you said this, what's up? Like, it's never happened a day in my life. And you see that now on social media. You see it now with friends, so-called friends. You see it now with affiliates, as far as that goes, when it comes to, just stupidity, messiness. You can even look on social media in regards to, and I'm going to keep it on men as far as it goes, because I would say that, yeah, we're as men, we're kind of built in a certain limelight to act, talk, be a certain type of way as far as it goes. And obviously we're not all the same, but I do believe in some type of morals when it comes to that as far as it goes. Like, I've never been a type to where I have seen something stupid or something I disagree with on social media and go and write something stupid or negative. I don't know you. Like, I don't know them. Well, I would go spend any type of time or energy going and write something hateful or ignorant on somebody I don't even know. Especially, I'm not going to do it to somebody I do know, of course. And when you see, and it just makes you think, like, man, does this work? And I'm obviously, like I said, I keep it off of men, but it's like, man, does a society, do they feed off of negativity? Do they get pleasure out of talking reckless or ignorant or stupid or saying hateful things? One of my videos is out there right now that's gone viral, and just go look at the comments, and some of the comments are, man, if I was weak-minded or whatever the case is, I would go and entertain each one of those comments, and I would probably be fighting with each person on there. And obviously 99% of those comments on there are from men, in regards to, he thinks he's da-da-da, or he's probably going to end up crippled, or he's probably da-da-da, or, he lifts weight. He's just a meathead. He doesn't even have a career, doesn't even have a life. All he likes to do is lift. It's like, it's literally like, you can read some stuff and just think like, wow, these people are so stupid. And it's like, and you really have to just be that mentally strong to where you just have to look at it and just shake your head and just keep it moving. Cause it's like, yeah, it's easily to get pulled into stupidity, And so how do I handle criticism? Honestly, because I've even had it happen to where they come on my page with that nonsense and write stuff, and I'll wake up and I'll see, like some people out there are very, very miserable is what I've came, to realize, because I've had some situations to where some account has went on there and wrote stuff, and I'm talking about on 10 pictures in a row, and I'm just like, block, delete. And I'm just thinking to myself like, dude, you must be super miserable. But, have I ever entertained it one or two times? Yeah, of course, no doubt about it. But then I realized that, yeah, when I'm giving that stuff entertainment or giving that stuff my attention, it's like, I mean, obviously they're winning, of course, that's a generic saying, but it is true. So how do I handle the criticism? They're irrelevant, because it's like, as things grow, as things improve, and I even told my business partner when it comes to our product, when it comes to these classes, because now he's saying it. Obviously he talked to me less than a month ago. He's like, man, Joe, like, man, a lot of people are happy for him, but he's like, is it weird that some people kind of act funny? I said, no. I said, get used to it. I said, it's unfortunate, but it is true. I said, because when things do succeed, you have some people that are wishing you success, and do they genuinely wish you success? Absolutely. Are some people hoping you fail? 100%. It's true. Okay. And I hate to say it, it's not being negative, but it's just life. And sometimes if you don't learn it now, sometimes you have to learn it the hard way. And when you do see it, don't be surprised. I'm just letting you know, because it's like, I've seen a certain point, to where a certain level of success has came into life, over, 10 years ago. And I scratched my head and I wondered and I saw these things, but it's at a point now to where honestly nothing surprises me. But it's also at a good point too, to where you can really identify good character, good people, the ones that you do want around you, of course, even putting people in the right places, obviously growing as a team, collabing, doing these great things together. And you could tell, obviously, genuine people, and it's not even something that you have to necessarily go out and look for or reach for or anything like that. It literally just comes with territory, because it's like, I am a person of God. I do keep my faith high. I do believe that, when you're on a certain level of I'm not even gonna say success, but when you're on a certain alignment, things start to align accordingly as well too. And you can really identify, the ones that you will do things with accordingly. I'm not just talking about business, I'm just talking about life, and the ones that, you just seen it and you've been around it. So you can kind of tell the ones that, don't need to be there.
I think a question more people should ask themselves in all those situations is just, it's a perspective shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to ask, why do I feel this way about that?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then if you ask yourself that, maybe there's some truth in there.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
maybe that's something you need to work on.
Absolutely.
Or, you become indifferent to a lot of things.
Yeah.
At that point, because
Yep.
you're like, I don't feel anything about that.
Exactly.
I just think I do.
Yeah. I think it's, I think it's literally, I've said this before, if you plan on achieving a level of success, just be ready for the things that come with it. And it doesn't even, and I'll say this as well too, if you plan on achieving a level of success and being on a platform with it, definitely be ready for that, because that's a whole nother thing as well too. Because then you have the world and you're kind of like a microscope based off of the fact. And, and you also have a choice, obviously, what you decide to put out there. And personally speaking, the way that I feel at this point in my life is like, I want to use my platform in regards to show people that, no doubt about it. Of course, you can work your ass off. You can be, skilled in a lot of different things in regards to the fact as far as, but you also sometimes don't even have a plan of how it's going to happen or what you're doing or whatever the case is, because, it's not always presented to you, or it's not always structured out in regards to the way life is going to be or whatever the case is. And that's why I try to show and teach in regards to that, as far as it goes, to where it's like, man, I didn't have the prototype in regards to hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to high school. I'm going to college. I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this and this, and know which way or form that what took place. So, but I had a certain type of mindset, and I had things that happened in my life that I could have went this way or I could have went that way. And, I've been taught things, obviously, that have made me better. I've had to learn things sometimes the hard way. And obviously, when it came to all of that, it's allowed me to get to a place to where it's prepared me for a lot of different things that are taking place in my life right now. And, so when I put things, out there, and I've even said this to my parents, my business partner, my good friends, for 2024, with what's taking place, I've said it to where it's just like how I feel when I'm going to hit, when I was going to hit 900 pounds last year. And that's the way I feel like when it comes to life right now. And the way that I've had when it comes to this mindset is the fact to where, one thing I've known about myself is I'm a very unselfish person. When I think about overall success, I think about, obviously, what I want to do for my parents, what I want to do for the people that have, helped me in a way in regards to lining me up mentally in regards to being this mentally strong person that I am to this day. I'm a person that, no doubt about it, will, where I was X amount of years ago, as far as it goes, I don't forget about those people that had some type of impact in my life, to make sure that they're honestly well taken care of in regards to, the type of success that comes from the things that I learned that allowed me to be who I am and going forward in my life as far as it goes. So when I say in regards to my mindset now, it's literally at a mindset to where I know for a fact, what is going to take place. And I speak that in regards to I'm really big on the law of attraction in regards to as far as that goes. If I don't tell myself it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. If I think it's going to happen, then I'm second down to myself. But it's I'm confident as far as what's going to take place. And I'm certain in regards to when it does take place, the steps that I'm going to do when it comes to that as well too. And I've said this when it comes to the people that I talk to about this, to where it's like, if people are ever going to get tired of, hearing great things or seeing great things, or whatever the case is, I've made it very clear, don't watch, because like, I'm going for a certain level of success. And I'm not talking about financially, I'm talking about in regards to what I want to do when it comes to life, for myself, for my loved ones, for my family, for a lot of different factors. And, and I said this on a post not so long ago, creating success is not about creating, I think everyone has their version of what success is. My success does not determine on what type of wealth is created. My success comes from a deeper place in regards to, when things have happened, when milestones are created, when achievements are made, it becomes emotional at times, because you think about the setbacks, you think about the things that have happened in life. Like, the people can see a reflection of the great things that are happening, but it's like, man, it's just like hidden PRs. It's like, you guys see this big PR, but it's like, I don't know the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into each one of these practices, each one of these workouts. And when you finally do it, it is like, I don't know about you, but it's like when I used to hit PRs, when I did it 900 pounds, when I got back to the room, I got emotional, because it's like, there's so much that goes into it. And that's how life is in general. It's not easy. Like, I don't care like what level of success that you're at. Like, you reach one level of success and then you want to strive for more, but there's something in you that still causes you and makes you want to push for more and more. And once again, I keep saying that I'm not talking about wealth and I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about in regards to, there's a burning desire in some of us that makes us want to strive for more. And the motivation is usually something that's deep inside of us that makes us want to keep going when it comes to that.
Were there any topics you wanted to cover that I didn't bring up?
Oh, no, I think we hit right there on the money. It's been, it's been awesome, man. It's, it's, I look forward to doing this again. It's, we could talk a lot about obviously life and things that are taking place, that have taken place, that are going forward. And this is just one of the many different things and conversations I can see us having from now and then in the future going forward for sure.
Any final thoughts then?
It's, we're in, what's the age? It's January, right? So
yes, it's, yeah. It all runs together, right?
So, we're just at, and I say we, cause I like to use the word we, cause I don't really see anything I do as I or me or anything like that. So I speak on we a lot, cause anything around me revolves a team regardless of what I'm doing. Anyone who's watching, or everyone who sees my platform as far as that goes, you're going to just see a lot of talk about forward momentum, about things that are taking place. I talk a lot in regards about what business is at, where business is going. Because like what I was just saying earlier, it's just like, there's so much work that needs to be done. And there's so much that comes from it, that a lot of people don't see, but that requires getting my ass up every single day and literally putting in the work day after day after day after day after day after day. And like I said, even when you reach a certain type of point, as far as when you hit a certain landmark, literally that's just when something else starts as well too, and you know this as yourself as a business owner, as an individual, whatever the case is. So it's like, I'm happy about a lot of things that are taking place, and I'm really looking forward to it, of course, too, and I won't get all into the, the business side of things as far as it goes, of course. But it's just very, it's just a certain chapter in my life right now to where, the momentum, I just compare it to, like I said earlier, how it was when I got injured from the chest tendon tear, when I said, I'm going to go pro this year. I'll show you guys. How it was when me and Josh Bryan started training together, and I said, and I looked at him straight in his eyes. I said, I'm going to hit 900 pounds. And that's how I am when it comes to life, and like right now, to where we are, to where we're going. And I speak to my parents about this. I speak to my family members about it. I speak to my business partners, my friends about it, as far as it goes, to where it's like, the energy and the alignment as far as where things are. And I called it a level. The word I've been using a lot lately is when you are getting to that point in life to where you feel like things are evolving. And like evolving comes from, you know, the fact that as far as, you know, what's going on in regards to obviously how you see things are being lined up with the people, of course, individuals, family, business, personal, whatever the case is. It's just, and when you get to that point, it's like you realize you don't have any time for distractions. Obviously, you and I talked about something briefly before this as far as that goes. So it's one of those things to where, you know, the things that are taking place, it's just, we're just on a forward slope, and I'm really looking forward to it. And at this point, it's all about evolving.
Where's the best place for people to follow you at?
Instagram. My Instagram name is J Mackey, or you could just type in search, and obviously you could just type in Joseph. It's under Joseph now, not Joe. So JOSEPH Mackey, MACKEY. You'll see it come up. Joseph Mackey, IFBB Pro.
All right, we'll have the links in the description. I want to thank you for coming out. This has been great.
Absolutely.
And we're done.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Thanks, brother.
If we're lowering our weight, passive tension is usually coming from a couple of places. Passive tension will be coming from Titan, which is a very large protein molecule that runs through the sarcomere. And we also have the slow detachment rates that are happening between actin and myosin. So you have that combination